have suddenly just disappeared from my screen. I don't know why. You were here, now you're not. I don't understand how that happened. We've also got a special guest this evening, Blue Dragon 5. Hello, Dragon.
The first part of my plan is complete. Next to make Cap disappear.
Your whole plan is just to not have anything on the screen next to me? I don't even... It's a weird choice. I don't know what that's about. Yeah, this has never happened before. Like, just as we're broadcasting, I was looking at you the last 5 minutes, and then suddenly this happens. I don't know why. So anyway, everybody just give me a minute. I'm going to try to fix this. That's very strange. We might just have disembodied voices this evening. It's kind of ironic on an evening where we're having somebody that is just in audio, that DJ would also be stuck just in audio.
Well, yeah, if you add a disembodied voice, you must also sacrifice a disembodied voice. Everyone is saying that I've transcended my body.
Is that just how...
No words on this one, kids.
Is that just how math works? I don't...
Well, I'm getting a kick out of this chat, at least, so that's fun.
Well, anyway, we got him back, so we're good to go now. Welcome, everybody, this evening to the Captain Logan Show. Thanks a bunch for popping in. Gonna have kind of a random fun night tonight, doing some different things. Tonight, our lead-in topic is going to be about, once again, the many rumors about retconning Star Wars. We've been hearing about this for weeks and months on end. The, like, insiders, and I use insiders in air quotes, because I don't know how much truth there is to any of this, and I keep assuming not a whole lot, but I want to talk about it again because Tom in the Superhero Screen Society, thanks Tom, sent us an article and with some new weird rumors, and I don't feel the need to weigh in on this every single time there's another rumor about Disney getting rid of 7, 8, and 9 in the continuity, but this one was kind of weird and interesting and oddly specific, and I mostly just wanted to talk about opinions on this and whether or not we think this is even a thing that really needs to happen. I touched on this a little bit during the Disney Investor Day thing with the new announcements of all the Star Wars shows, and that whole thing where there were some of those shows they put in the category of in the like Mandalorian timeline, and I was really interested in that word timeline, and that's one of the big things that makes me think that this is not likely true. But we'll talk about that here in just a little bit. If you're watching live, thanks so much for being with us. If you're watching after the fact, that's awesome as well. Let's see who's in the chat this evening. We got Noah O, Divid22, welcome guys. Jedi Knight, Daniel Davis is here. Stussy is here. Mutale, there's Connor Nielsen. Hello, Connor. You guys are all wonderful. Thanks a whole bunch. Divid22 just put in a $2 super chat telling me that I need to give DJ a raise. That man a wizard or witch? I don't understand the second part of that. What does giving you a raise have to do with wizard and witches?
I think he just forgot a linking verb. I think he's trying to say I am a wizard or witch.
Oh, okay.
Indeed, that man is a wizard or witch. Well, I don't know the technical. I think I'd be a wizard, wouldn't I? Is it a gender thing? I don't know.
I was going to say, I think what I'm confused about there is that he said or witch.
Warlock.
And you're a dude, so I wouldn't think you'd be a witch. But...
Who knows? Who knows? I can also disappear, apparently, from video screens without the Joker having to push me off.
That's awesome. Dragon, how are things with you, man? It's been a while.
Yeah, things are good. Yeah, I finished watching Soul of the Dragon, the new animated Batman movie.
Oh, don't tell me anything. I haven't gotten to see it yet. I have it right here, and I was supposed to watch this last night with Eric, but he got held up and wasn't able to make it. So next week is the plan right now. The only thing I've heard about this is some folks have. I don't know if this is any good or not. All I've heard is that it's like Assault on Arkham, where it's not really that much of a Batman story. But that is all I have heard about it, and I guess I'll see if that's true.
Oh, you'll see.
I'm excited for my dad to see that. My dad's favorite thing ever is Bruce Lee, and his favorite superhero ever is Batman, so hopefully he can check it out. I don't know. I don't think he's seen any of those DC animated movies, but I told him about it. We'll see if he sees it.
I wonder if they'll have some line about how, like, Bruce Wayne is great at martial arts just because his name is also Bruce.
It's a Bruce thing. But he can't be the Hulk, because that wouldn't work. That's embarrassing.
Dragon has a YouTube channel. It's called So You Want to Be an Imagineer. He does a lot of videos about animation and things. Anything you want to plug right now, Dragon, before we get going on the show?
Yeah, just in general. So yeah, so you want to be an Imagineer? We do. We talk about stuff mainly. There's a lot of a Disney focus for sure, but we also cover just kind of movies and kind of pop culture as it comes up. Like we've talked The Mandalorian as the episodes have come out, as well as WandaVision. We're keeping up with that. Been doing it on our show Plus and Us, where we kind of talk about the Disney Plus stuff. We right now today we put up a new episode of well, it should be like it's going through the process right now. By the time we get off this thing, it'll probably be up. The animated Batcave, where we basically the sell of that one is I'm kind of the animated series guy. Tiki, my associate, he's watching for the first time. It's kind of a rewatch meets a first watch sort of recap. We go very in depth when we recap things, so we have
How
that.
far in are you guys? Because you talked about that last time you were on the show, so he must have
Yeah,
seen
we
quite
are
a bit at this point.
at this juncture. We're almost halfway through New Adventures.
Oh
We
wow,
yeah,
jeez.
pretty far. Yeah, and then after that point, well, we'll be announcing some other cool stuff, but then eventually Batman Beyond and so on.
I was gonna say surely you'll take him through that. Is he liking it?
Yeah, he's been liking it. Surprisingly, really been liking New Adventures. We kind of hit the 'cause New Adventures going through the production where they start off really strong, and we haven't quite hit the bumps yet
Yeah.
on that one. I'm interested to see how he's going to react to that. But and one last thing, every month we do our kind of our game show, which I think I've told you guys about. It's Disney debates, which sometimes we then retheme to like MCU debates or Muppet debates and debates of the like. And next month we are doing WandaVision slash kind of MCU debates for like the penultimate WandaVision coming out. So
So are those, you said game shows? Are they literally debates? Like what are the kinds of questions people are debating?
Well, yeah. So basically, there's a main round which has like three topics, as in like for example, like the best episode of the Muppet Show, and then you pick an episode and you debate like why yours is undeniably better than the other guys.
Oh,
And then
cool.
sometimes it'll be like a pitch, like I want you to pitch like what a new version of the Muppet Vision 3D attraction would be, and stuff like that. Sometimes it's a pitch, sometimes it's like kind of like this or that, and then we have like a speed round, which is a time limit, and then it's kind of you have like only basically 45 seconds to make a debate against the other guy. It's kind of fun, kind of
Yeah,
crazy.
Dragon, you've invited me on that, and I just haven't had time. But I'd love to do that at some point. That sounds just not too cerebral enough to be enjoyable. I would really enjoy that. I was like, how much? I was like, how much research do I have to do to come on the show?
Well, I always believe in research, but honestly, I mean, if you're if you know the stuff, I mean, like for example, we were doing the MCU debate. I think you're pretty much caught up as is. But if you again, basically, we give the players the main round questions in advance, so they can prepare for them. So
Oh, okay,
you'll
that's
have
cool.
you'll be able to prepare for that. The speed round, though, it's kind of a mystery and just kind of themed generally to the event. And also, we offer like there's like we have three panels of judges these days. It's in like it comes to a vote of three people. So like if you get 2 out of 3 votes from a judge, you get the point for the round. So how you swayed them.
That's cool. That sounds fun.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I will check that out, and I'll consider coming on at some point if you'd like me to. That sounds like fun.
Yeah, I'd love to have both of you guys on. If you don't want to play in the round, we could always have you on the judges kind of panel. So anything.
Sure. Yeah, that's neat.
All right.
Man, I thought about doing stuff like that for years. That's really cool. You guys are doing that.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and get to our opening topic for this evening. Let me mention real quick, actually, before that happens. I always have a before thing. I always go, let's get into it, and then I say, but I got a thing that just came to me. I don't think I've ever done a show where I didn't do
Light
that.
bulb.
I don't think I've ever done that. Anyway, so before we get to tonight's topic, I want to mention that a little bit later in the show, and DJ, try to help remind me, would you? I'm going to be airing a new pilot for you guys tonight, and I would really love your feedback on this. I'm on the fence about this idea I've got for a new rewind thing, and I kind of wanted to show it to the live show tonight before I start doing this. So I'll tell you a little bit later what it is, but it's a quick pilot, and it is based on a thing, or it's actually using a thing that most of you guys will have heard before. That's all I'll tell you, and we'll take a look at it a little bit later. If you want to make sure that your question or topic is discussed on air, you can leave a super chat in any dollar amount. That really helps us out a whole bunch on the channel. But if you are just here here to listen, or you want to throw in some questions in the like pre-written questions in the chat, please do that. We'll get through as many as humanly possible, even aside from super chats, and away we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at this article that Tom sent us, T-Edge1. This is from InsideTheMagic.net. I don't know anything about this website. I don't know how above board this is or anything, but I just want to take a look at this because it's weird. So Disney Plus to reportedly retcon Star Wars sequel trilogy. I have seen this headline a bunch in the last several months. But this specifically is talking about the notion of not just retconning it, like ignoring it, but paving over it specifically with a new episode 7, 8, and 9 that would be mini-series, like seasons of Disney Plus television as opposed to a movie, and it would be using... It sounds like some of the stuff that they shot for those movies, but it wouldn't be exactly those stories. And we know that those actors, are, like, any of them or hardly any of them are willing to come back. So I don't know what exactly story-wise this would be. But this says, per the report, the reboots of the sequels would be a 3-season series, like I said, featuring archive footage of the late Fisher, Ford, and it says Fisher, Ford, and Harrison. Okay. Yeah, so this sounds credible. Each season presumably would rework the events of one of the sequel trilogy movies. According to this report, it would mean the first season... This is from some insider that, of course, we don't have a name for.
Basically, they're trying to Snyder cut it sounds like.
Kinda, sorta.
Yeah.
This would mean the first season would rework The Force Awakens, season 2 would change Last Jedi, and then Skywalker, or Rise of Skywalker. One of the most exciting aspects of the rumor is that sequel director J.J. Abrams already filmed the scene with the beloved trio that's like 10 minutes long, apparently. This reunion would not be a CGI stunt, but rather a scene filmed with all 3 actors that we just haven't seen yet, and they would try to, like, work new stuff around that whole thing. So I don't think this is likely. This all sounds, to quote the Tick, made up to me. But I wanted to talk about whether or not we thought something like this should even be done. It looks like, based on just The Mandalorian and plans for the future and not random insider things we've heard. I mean, obviously, there's got to be some kind of crazy stuff happening behind the scenes, and there's I believe there has been certainly a lot of turmoil and maybe a couple of different camps there at Disney that want different things that have been kind of infighting and stuff, and questions about like whether Kathleen Kennedy should even continue and all of that. I think there's definitely, this whole thing has been definitely mired in turmoil behind the scenes, certainly. Maybe they have their ducks in a row and know where they're going now, but certainly there's been drama. There's almost no doubt about that. But moving forward with all the series announcements that we got, some of them they said were in the, and this is official reporting, that they were in the timeline of The Mandalorian. And timeline to fans and people that pay attention to this stuff usually means a continuity, right? It's not usually a time period, but they might just be not understanding the lingo and using a word that you wouldn't think applies, right? So I don't know, but my assumption has been that all of this is kind of bunk, and they're not going to officially retcon that trilogy, but would rather just let The Mandalorian and the shows they put in that continuity naturally pave over eventually those events and just kind of not talk about it. And basically you'd have 2 different continuities, and all of them would include the original 6 films and Clone Wars and all of that stuff, but then lead up to a particular point in time, and then after that it diverges, kind of like you had with the J.J. Abrams Star Trek stuff. And that's what I think is going to happen. I don't think you need any kind of retcon. I don't think we need an official 7, 8, and 9 that are different from what we had. I think it's fine to say there's this weird continuity that used to be the only continuity we had, where when they got to the end of it, they had Palpatine behind everything for a bazillion years, and they kind of broke the universe. So then they just went back and they sort of paved over it, but they didn't feel the need to retell those stories or anything. They just naturally have a different continuity that you couldn't be sure wasn't that until we we got to Thrawn and all of that stuff, which they've been seeding in The Mandalorian. So, Dragon, what are your thoughts on this, man?
Well, I'll tell you. Just overall, I mean, just in regards to the comment itself, yeah, it sounds pretty much like bunk, all of that. But just on the topic itself, yeah, I mean, Tiki, he's in the comments, by the way.
Hi, Tiki.
What a while back, he used a term that I think was really appropriate. He said, in place of retcon, I think the proper way to go and what it should be is course correction, which seems like that's what Mandalorian's plan is. Like, I don't think we should, if we eventually get it, whether it be series or movie or what have you, if we eventually get to the point where we're going, hey, let's officially retcon, 7, 8, 9. That sets a dangerous precedent that that fans who are unhappy can, like, just like a coalition of fans who are unhappy, like a large group or what have you. I mean, so I think people are divided on The Last Jedi, a little less divided on Rise of Skywalker, but what have you. They're gonna reach a point where we cave too easily, and we kind of, it's said in the comments as well, as like, they made their bed, they kind of have to lie in it, where I feel Mando, the impression it gives that we're going to try to, again, course correct, we're going to try to kind of make things work, which is kind of what other Star Wars shows have done, like Clone Wars. We kind of made the prequels a lot more palatable and kind of found kind of a bright side to it, and again, kind of retroactively kind of fix some stuff. And Mando's kind of been doing that on both ends of things, and I think that's kind of the way we're going to go forward. Like all the Star Wars shows that they announced coming forward, they sound like, again, these are more this is in the proper direction. We're going to try and fix things before we kind of worry about how we're moving forward in Star Wars. If we're going to do another 30-year jump or what have you, and that to me sounds like where the priority should be. Like I don't think we need the retcon. I don't think it's a good idea, and. The timeline thing, real quick. The timeline thing, it sounds like they use timeline just in the sense of like they always lay out this giant kind of timeline sort of thing of like all the Star Wars movies where they place on the events, and it sounds like they're trying to say time period. Like we're going to work in that kind of that Mando time period of like the 5 years after Jedi, and that's kind of where the shows they announced are kind of set, with the exception of like the Acolyte and stuff like that. Yeah.
And that's probably true. It's kind of wishful thinking on my part that they know what most fans mean when we say timeline, and that's what they're actually saying, is that Mandalorian is in fact in its own timeline. There have been rumors for a long time, even predating all the stuff we've had lately, about like officially retconning those recent movies, that you would have like multiple Star Wars continuities happening all at the same time. And I don't know if there's any reason to think that's possible or likely. But yeah, Dragon, I'm with you about everything except it is easier to kind of dodge stuff with moving forward from prequels than it is, I think, with 7, 8, and 9. Especially because we're like filling in gaps and stuff. So I think you are inevitably going to get to a place where you can't avoid directly contradicting things that happen in those movies.
That's fair, but so far, just based on just the season that we've gotten so far with Mando, far they seem to be on the course of like just basically setting things up for like Force Awakens, which I mean, so far, well, and also I guess technically kind of hair into The Last Jedi.
Are they though? Because a couple of things that make me kind of question that. You've got the Thrawn name drop, and I realized that he was in that cartoon show,
Rebels.
Rebels,
yeah.
But I don't know. I guess it's just going to depend on what we do with characters like that. If we end up, actually kind of being forced to pave over things. Because if you're right, then they're only using Thrawn, as far as it makes sense to, while Palpatine is still in the background doing machinations. And then you've also got, the way, spoilers for Mando. It's been more than a few weeks now. I think we can talk about this stuff. So if you don't want to hear about this stuff, now would be a good time to leave for a few minutes and come back. But I don't know how to have this conversation without talking about it. And I think most everybody knows about this by now. But I don't know, Tiki's in the comments. Dragon, how do you But how do you feel about the way we brought in like Luke Skywalker at the end? Like, are we going to continue doing things with him? And am I to believe that he's going to be like setting up a temple like he did in those that will then get like dragged down real fast? Or like, I just think that there's the potential for that to go completely its own way.
Well, in regards to Luke, I don't. One, I don't think the next season of Mando's it's either going to be very little, or my preference would be next season, which I believe we're okayed for at least. I know we're definitely getting season 3. I think it's been greenlit to season 4. I think we're being greenlit at least for 2 more seasons. I don't think I think season 3 is going to be all, again, we're kind of in vague spoilers. I think we're going to Mandalore for season 3. I'll say that much.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think primarily that's what that whole season's going to be. And then season 4 is when we're going to maybe. I think Baby Yoda's going to come back into the fray either at the tail end of 3 or just right at the top of 4, and that's when we're going to have to address where we are with Luke and everything. And obviously, I mean, they can't use the Luke Skywalker effect throughout the whole thing, but they were really clever about it, how they did it in Mando season 2. Because again, I remember I had like that gobsmacking moment of like, oh my God, Jedis have hoods. We could actually pull this off without. But then of course,
yeah,
like, oh my.
And then we did show it. And I had that split second where I was like, that looks really good. And then they closed in on it, and that was a mistake.
Well, I still think it was pretty impressive. I hear
you.
No,
it was cool. I mean, it doesn't look so bad that it wasn't worth doing. I'm just saying I was a lot more impressed with it than I ended up being at the end of it. Like, I was like, my mind was blown for about 5 seconds, and then I was like, oh, but then I see exactly how you did that effect now. And no, anyway. But yeah, I don't know. I've talked to some folks that think that they're gonna go full tilt with that stuff in the 3rd season. I'll be real surprised. Like I'm with you. I just think that eventually, especially with the number of shows they're doing, that down the road there's a really good chance of paving stuff over. I'm with you. I don't think that any of these are issues we're gonna have to deal with for at least 2 years.
Yeah, definitely. For sure, because again, there's always the question of like the ages on Ben Solo and Rey and everything, because with the whole 30-year kind of jump there, we're basically like kind of the 25-year point within that with Mando. So it's just a question of if Mando goes for 5 seasons at the tail end of that stuff, do we then worry about like when does like Ben Solo get introduced within the Luke Skywalker stuff? Because that's when we have to take a stance on things. That's when that's when the retcon conversation should be like, okay, well, we got to make a call here, because in that movie. We see, Luke and Ben Solo, things don't go great.
I guess you've got a little bit of time. I mean, quite a bit of time before you really had to deal with too much. But I guess I'm just preoccupied by things like, Palpatine in the background and like what was Snoke doing and all of that.
Well, Thrawn's not going to be an issue, by the way, because he's going to be, that's an Ahsoka story that they're kind of teeing up there. So he's going to be pretty much dealt with there if I'm a betting man. But and he could be like a crossover threat for the 3 shows they're going to have in the Mando timeline. So
yeah, I just don't think they can handle it in such a way where he is as big of a deal as he should be. And I'm fine with completely paving over that continuity if that's what they had to do. But anyway, well, let's go ahead and start going to some questions. DJ, go ahead and start throwing us stuff. Pre-written first, if you don't mind, and then we can get to some super chats, and it can be stuff about this or anything else. And then right at the tail end of the show, I will reveal that video I want to show you guys. So let's get into it. DJ, go right ahead, man.
All right, so Mutale wants to know, and is this true? Because this is crazy. Thoughts on Ethan Hawke playing the villain in Moon Knight?
Yeah, this is true. From what I heard, this has been confirmed. Also, the Oscar Isaacs in the role of Moon Knight seems to have been confirmed along with this. And actually, it seems like an actual confirmation versus this whole is Charlie Cox coming back to be Daredevil thing. So it sounds like actually.
Which I don't think we're gonna know till that movie happens, but.
And again, how ridiculous is it that it's coming supposedly this December, and we still don't have a title on this thing?
Yeah, there's no way that comes out on time.
Crazy.
Well, there's a lot of that this year, of course, for obvious reasons, where you have studios that just haven't pushed dates yet. That it's really silly that they haven't. But yeah, I had not heard that, so thanks for that information, Dragon. Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah, that's after he said that superhero movies will never be real movies. With Logan, like that's so weird that he's doing Moon Knight.
Oh yeah, that was Hawk.
Oh, did he say that? I didn't.
Yeah,
remember that.
I think he's right. Yeah, so like Hawk said something about Logan. Yeah.
Well, and obviously we've had actors that big, even on the the TV side of Marvel before. So like that's not I guess the most shocking thing in the world. But that actor specifically, I would have expected to see in a Marvel thing.
Yeah, it's really surprising, but I don't know. I guess we'll see.
He was really good in Gattaca. I just want to get that out there.
Yeah.
That's another one from Utali. Did you? Sorry, Utali left so many. Jedi Knight.
One second, Solar Dragon. I didn't even realize I'd forgotten. So much information swirling in my brain all the time. I did not remember that. If that's the case, he says, "I hope Isaac gets to play Miguel O'Hara again." Was that Isaac's voice? I didn't even.
Yes,
that.
He played Spider-Man. He played 2099 at the end of the movie. And he sounded great too. By the way, if we continue to put him in there, a little more of a serious like a semi-serious context, that'll be a lot of fun. He seemed really good in that role.
Well, I still think that's what they should have spun off and done for their next one instead of a Spider-Verse 2.
Again, I know things are a little kind of fluid right now in terms of like when things are coming out, maybe in titles with Spider-Man. So who knows? Maybe it'll reveal he's our main Spider-Man of that movie.
I will be shocked and dismayed if that's the case. Like I
heard we're getting Japanese Spider-Man.
But, oh yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure he'll be in that since he was set up at the end of that last movie. But I would be really surprised if he was the.
Well, what if he was a member? What if he was like the Spider-Man noir of the new lineup, or like the Spider-Gwen of the whole new lineup of Spider-Man? Potentially, your main link being Miles Morales, but outside like a whole new kind of main core group for a new adventure. I mean,
yeah, but none of those characters got nearly enough to do. If they were my absolute favorite Spider-Man character, and Spider-Man 2099 is way up there for me. So like, I don't know, man. I'm just not gonna be satisfied until he gets his own movie. And I feel like a lot of those characters could be spun off and get really cool movies. And maybe it'll be down the line. I'm just being. I don't mean to be fanboyish. I'm just being a little bit impatient right now because I was hoping that they would do some interlude stuff before they felt the need to do a Spider-Verse 2. And that makes me also concerned that even if they do finally do solo movies, because here's the thing, that movie was popular and pretty successful, and a lot of people love it, and people are putting it on top 10 superhero lists and things, and it won an Oscar and everything. But you could end up with a Lego movie situation where you make a sequel and it isn't great, or even if it is, people just kind of lose interest, and then you won't get those things. Like, off the popularity of that, and as well made, and also some of the same people were involved in both, if, writers and such, if the next thing, wasn't something really, really cool sounding to me like Spider-Man 2099, I'm crying foul a little bit, because I don't know if we're going to get to keep going.
Yeah, there is another concern. I don't know if it's being kind of greatly spoken of right now. Is that going forward, just in the kind of mess that we're in right now with the animation industries? I mean, I'm sure it's going to continue. It's a question of how big they're going to be able to go. Like for example, we heard all these, the Spider-Gwen movie was happening, and we heard all these spin-offs that were And I mean, I love Spider-Man. That one wasn't announced, unfortunately. I wanted the Spider-Man Noir movie, maybe like a black and white Brad Bird directed Spider-Man Noir movie, but that's not going to happen. I was tossing his name there.
With Nick Cage the whole time, and Well, he's your answer to everything.
Well, I mean, he's a real. You saw that spirit. Oh my God, Cap! Did you ever see that the Iron Giant documentary, the Giant Dream?
I didn't. I had no idea that was a thing.
Oh my God, Cap! It's amazing. It's everything. It shows you a bit of his spirit pilot. Not pilot, but the spirit. He did an animation test for a 2D Spirit movie, and then you remember in the Iron Giant, all the comics, you see like little Spirit comics. Brad Bird was supposed to adapt the Spirit first.
I didn't realize that. It's been so long since
because he was really tight with Will Eisner.
Didn't even remember there were Spirit comics. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, that was the big thing he was going to do before he ended up at Warner Brothers, which then kind of begat the whole get led into other projects, which eventually led into Iron Giant. So.
Dragon is a fountain of information. Thanks, man. All right, where else do we want to go?
This is Nicholas.
Hello, sir.
Hey, guys. Hope you're well. Star Wars should set itself hundreds of years in the future for more movies. Also, Cap, did you get my Patreon message?
I will check my messages a little bit later, sir.
That was a super chat. That's why I read it.
I appreciate the super chat, and I'm sorry you felt the need to throw more money to make sure that I was paying attention to you at the place where you're already contributing to the channel. Thanks a lot. Appreciate that. Yes, well, that has been my answer to the Star Wars problem forever. That's, of course, also what I wanted with Star Trek, and we didn't go way in the future until the third season of Discovery. At that point, it's too late, and I don't care anymore, and it's probably still freaking horrible. The first episode of that season certainly is, and then I have not watched anymore because I think I like my brain cells too much to lose too many more of them, at least in rapid succession. So anyway, yeah, I really adore what I've read. I've read about half the run, maybe more than half the run now of Star Wars Legacy, and that's all I want. And I think that would be, I mean, you can't adapt it exactly, especially if it's still, if you still have to deal with the stuff we did to the continuity with the newer movies, with like Luke Skywalker's Force Ghost and all of that, it would be a little bit harder to do some of that stuff. But Dragon, I don't know if you've ever read any of that stuff, but yeah, that's all I want, is just basically Star Wars Beyond. Just go to the future. That's all I want.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm sorry. Go on.
No, what were you gonna say, Dragon?
No, I was just going to interject. Yeah, I'm not. I remember I was really into the Star Wars comics that Disney had put out in the beginning. Of course, the Vader one in the original kind of. I believe Jason Aaron was on the main Star Wars book. That's kind of as far as I've got.
He had the first million sold comic in like a decade or more with that book.
Wow, crazy. Well, again, it's a big event. Star Wars coming back, and essentially in a way the way they advertise and the way essentially it plays out. Okay, this is us kind of saying this is what counts in the official Star Wars continuity now,
yeah.
Which, I mean, take
and
it for what you will.
After the first Star Wars movie, which is really kind of, I don't know, those books are great, but it's a little bit sad because Dark Horse had a run just like that right before that was also good, and it got paved away immediately.
Yeah, it's a mixed blessing. Yeah.
The next one is from Divid22. I think it's when we were talking about the Batman movie.
Yeah.
They sure it Bruce Lee and not a Bruce Lee imitator.
I don't know what you're talking about.
They got actually Bruce Lee for this movie?
Yeah, what would be Bruce Lee instead of
I think
imitator?
what he might be referring to is that Richard Dragon's very similar to Bruce Lee in that film. I think that's what he's getting at.
Well, yeah, I think he's based on Bruce Lee initially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why I said earlier, which I don't know. I think I may have been muted when I was talking about that. Was I muted when I was talking about my dad?
No, I don't think I heard any of that.
Okay, I told my dad.
DJ, learn how to use your mute button. This has been happening a lot lately.
Yeah, Bruce Lee is like my dad's favorite. He loves Bruce Lee movies, and Batman's his favorite superhero. So I told him about that movie. So we'll see if he checks it out. I don't know.
Oh, actually, no. I think I did hear you say that part.
Okay, good. Just making sure.
That's good.
Making sure I'm doing
well. You
well.
did say that. I just can't remember if it was on the show or not.
Yeah, I can't
remember.
TH1. I was.
Would you rather?
So earlier I was looking at the cover of this, or the back cover, and for a second I thought Richard Dragon was like a crazy, like kung fu version of Riddler, because it looked like his dragon was a question mark, but it's not a question mark. It's a dragon. And I was like, that would be amazing if he had like a martial arts Riddler with a big dragon tattoo on his chest.
T-Edge1. Oh, would you rather question. We got to do another one of those shows.
Yeah.
And would you rather?
That was really fun. I've been wanting to do another one of those theme things. Again, we should just make that happen here the next couple weeks, DJ. It'd be great.
Sure.
What if and would you rather?
Let's do it. This one is, would you rather be sane and people think you're crazy, or be crazy and people think you're sane? And he says, you rock. The friend from Vietnam gave Kreese the money for Cobra Kai and owns a part of the dojo as per Karate Kid 3.
Yeah, Terry Silver, yeah.
That must be in reference to another video.
That was yes, it is. We just put out the spoiler cast for that last night. That was my assumption, but I just wasn't totally sure if that's what they were setting up.
Yeah, there's a misdirect in there, Cap, where they make you think that character, well, he kind of exits the series early, but it seems like he's on the horizon going forward, it seems, yeah.
Yeah, I had forgotten all about that. But yeah, what was the rest of that? There was something.
Would you rather be crazy?
Yeah, crazy and people think you're sane, or sane and people think you're crazy. I don't know. I don't like I don't like giant extreme absolutes like that regardless. I think both of those things would really suck. I guess if...
Welcome to Would You Rather.
Well, I guess just, like totally, to answer this totally selfishly, I guess if you were sane and everyone thought you were crazy, you'd be like if you were crazy and everybody thought you were sane, you'd be like a functional crazy person. So you'd be able to sort of operate in life. The other way, it would be really difficult to... Like, I think that would actually drive you mad. I think any of these eventualities, you end up crazy regardless. Because if you're a totally sane person, but everybody reacts to you like you're nuts, I don't know how you even operate. So I guess if it's between those two things, I take the first one, but...
Yeah, probably opt for crazy, but I think you're sane.
All right, well... This is the best super chat we've ever gotten from Michael McAllister. How do I send a super chat?
Wow, yeah, I kind of want to make that comment of the month, but we had that comment the other show that I liked so much that I think that would still take the cake.
So I guess you figured it out, Michael, but if you haven't, you did a great one. So no need to do any more.
Thanks for the super chat while you were testing.
Next is from So You Want to Be an Imagineer. Of course, welcome this evening. Do you think Galaxy's Edge should be rethemed to the original trilogy, or have it be non-canonical so we can have characters from all eras?
I like both of those ideas. I mean, I've not looked at it, and I don't really have a dog in that fight because I don't, get to go to theme parks a whole lot. And I know you guys are big theme park people, and I'm just not. So, like, I guess I wouldn't care until I was there. But yeah, it's gonna feel real out. It probably feels real outdated already. Right away. Those are characters people don't care about as much. And as soon as they walk in at this point, they're gonna be like, "Where's all the Mandalorian stuff? I just want to ride around with Baby Yoda. Where's that?" So yeah, I'm with you. I think they should be allowed to just throw whatever they want to in there that people care about.
Yeah, when I was there, it was when 8 had just come out, and the ride, was it called Star Tours? The ride was all about the end battle in that, where like the red dust was flying everywhere. It was pretty cool, but I imagine that's probably already been changed at this point.
Yeah, well, there was for a while. Star Tours had like a randomizer built into it, which I assume it still had. But then again, it's been ages since I've been there, and many changes have happened. Like last time I was able to go to Disney. Basically, last time I was ever going to proper vacation was probably 2012. So I'm very out of date, as you can imagine. Yeah, they had this cool randomizer thing at the time I was there, where they just kind of, before they complicated things, and then before they kind of made it like, wait a minute, if we're going to go into the prequels, how can Darth Vader be there? It's before they kind of convoluted in like 2015. Yeah, it's like every time you went on the ride, you get like a different outcome, which you have like different situations. Like you say, hey, you're like Darth Vader would stop and say, hey, you're the rebel spider. Just be a bunch of stormtroopers, and it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's easy to do that because it's just like a screen ride.
Yeah. Now that you say that, that's how it was when I was there too. I remember they said there were 4 or 5 different things that could possibly come up, and I think I can't remember if it was like a voting thing where everybody got to vote on which one popped up or something, but I feel like it wasn't like completely random. There was something that determined it. I can't remember what it was.
Not in 2012. I can confirm that much.
I went in 16, and I'm trying to remember what exactly the scenario was. Even I got like really sick on that ride, and
really?
it was the only thing that did that to me, and not like throw up sick, but like I got off and I was like super dizzy, and it took me like 10 minutes to recover. I had just this bizarre motion sickness thing that I didn't have with anything else I was there, but I think it was just something to do with like the weirdness of my eyes looking at that screen with that ride. And then when I got off, like somebody had to like walk me out. I had such a hard time staying on my feet.
That's a bummer, because I really want to take you to Universal Studios someday, and that's all the rides there, just those screen rides, and they're so cool. Like the Spider-Man ride is awesome.
Screen rides.
King Kong ride is awesome. That's a bummer. We got to go to Superhero Land before Marvel takes it.
Okay, yeah. Well, it's been almost 5 years now since I was there, so I don't remember any, which blows my mind. I don't know how it's been that long, but Jason was 6.
That's how we can keep track of years now. We got markers. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I used to. I used to keep track of years by landmarks of like movie releases and stuff, and I still do that a little bit. But now that I've got kids, it happens more with the.
It was always the saddest thing, going to Universal towards the end, even just going like up to 2012. It was that you go to Universal, they have the parking structure, and the parking structure had the iconic movie markers. You're in the Jurassic Park section, you're in the Jaws section, the King Kong, the E.T. section. The fact that pretty much all but two of those remained as they got rid of Jaws, as they got rid of King Kong at that time, and as they got rid of this and that. It's just like all you had to like Jurassic Park and E.T. being the only two survivors is really sad. Like, oh god, all the good stuff's gone.
Yeah, that's disappointing. Well, and one of the reasons I wanted to go to Disneyland was just for the history of it, and there was enough. There were enough like rides and sections that had been, not like updated too much and not changed in decades. Like that was the stuff that I enjoyed the most. I think it's gone now. They still had Toontown there, and that was one of my favorite things to look at because I'd always wanted to see that. I'm such a big Roger Rabbit fan. Yeah. It just hurts my feelings that they're taking stuff like that out, and everything still functioned. And I mean, I'm sure they have to do maintenance on it and stuff, but I mean, like that stuff was from '89, and there were things that were still there from even decades before that.
And speaking of the '80s, Jedi Knight, what artifacts from which culture should Indiana Jones find next?
That is always the $10 million question of that character, is what do you do that's not going to take you to crazy town and isn't going to be so obscure that nobody seems to care? Like, does anything come to your mind immediately, Dragon? I don't have a great answer for this.
Yeah, that's tough.
It's interesting. I mean, this is probably not the best answer, but see, we did many times. Another thing we do on the channels, we do a lot of pitches. Like we'll pitch like an extended pitch, not just for the debates. I mean, like sort of like we pitch biopics and stuff like that. And maybe one day Geekvolution will make that cut. I can't make any promises right now. At some point, seriously, you think we're joking, but at some point we might do the actual Captain Logan biopic pitch.
Oh no, that struck my ego too much. I can't have that.
Anyway, regardless, so we've also done a few movies. Like I did, back when the Affleck Batman was actually still a thing, we kind of laid out a pitch for like what that movie might be. And
sure.
The reason I'm bringing this up is that we did an Indiana Jones 5 pitch. And my idea was essentially I was going to go for like, if I recall, it was on the ambulances on the hospitals you have like that the serpent. It's like the little little snake around the staff.
Yeah.
So that was I did research, and I believe there was if I recall, there's a Greek correlation to that. It was essentially it kind of uses like kind of like a fountain of youth. Basically, Indiana Jones going after like finding that and believe in the Amazon for like the fountain of youth.
Yeah, sure.
It's like a healing sort of staff of some variety, which would it's
and those movies haven't done, I don't think, a straight up fountain of youth story.
Oh, but the Pirates movies did, and it was terrible.
Yeah, like Indy going up against a Minotaur and stuff like that. It's pretty much like kind of a Greek sort of.
As you were talking before you even got to the Greek thing, my mind was going to a Greek place too. I guess you could do, but is this too like? I don't know.
You could do some kind of stone that gives you your wishes.
No, don't do that. No. I was just gonna say I was about to say maybe this is too obvious and a thing that like people know too much, but I guess the Ark of the Covenant's not too far away from that. You could do Pandora's box.
Yeah. Oh, that's actually a really good idea. Because the other item I'm thinking of is Hitler's staff. Remember the staff that pierced the side of Christ? What was the? There's a name.
That Spear of Destiny, and
yes, that's it.
Constantine did that. Yeah.
And also it was in the Justice League animated show. It's kind of
Luthor was tasked. And that's not a terrible name for an Indiana Jones title either. I would not hate the Indiana Jones and the Spear of Destiny. That doesn't sound like the worst thing ever. But Indiana Jones and Pandora's box doesn't sound great.
Yeah.
Connor just renounced his praise of Wonder Woman 84.
Yeah,
Connor, did you see it again and decide that you don't like it after all? I have waffled back and forth every time I've seen it.
I look like a curmudgeon on that review, and then the two guys that were praising it both turned around again on me.
He's like, why couldn't we have done it a week later? And then Dan Torrey fucking loves it.
Yeah, I'm on the positive side of Wonder Woman 84 myself.
Are you?
Yeah.
It kind of depends on sensibilities and stuff.
Yeah.
But I haven't found, and maybe they're out there, I haven't found one person even that loves it that hasn't said, yeah, it didn't need to be 2.5 hours long.
Again, that opening really doesn't do it any favors. The biggest gripe I have about the thing, like, why? I mean, I like how it correlates to the three plot lines. It's just, why does it have to be like a 10-minute sequence of doing a little Amazon trial thing? Like,
but but it's weird because I've even run into people who don't like much of the rest of the movie, but like that part fine.
I mean, it's well shot, but it goes on too long.
I think so too. And Eric said that he was like, I love this movie, but that goes on too long. And then my wife was like, I don't like that movie hardly at all, but I really enjoyed that opening.
I really like Pascal in that.
It's like
movie.
that movie's like
So
a Rorschach
weird.
test.
It is. Yeah, I wish it was like the Rorschach test from Batman Forever. Look, there's no debating. That's a bat.
Chase, are you trying to tell me something right now? Are you trying to convey something in this little test right now? Is this like a veiled confrontation about who I am?
He goes, why do you have bats on your brain? She goes, the question is, why do you? I'm like, no, it's not. Get 100 people to look at that, and from any walk of life, any country, any age, they're all gonna say bat.
Now I'm getting the Bat film panel flashbacks. Perhaps we should move on.
The problem was not in the script in that scene, by the way. The problem was with that prop. They made it look too much like obviously it has to be a bat. Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah, they did such a good job with the Rorschach in the Watchmen movie, where like you don't see that until after the scene, and you're like, oh yeah, I can kind of see that in there.
Well, if they botched that, they'd be in real trouble, wouldn't they?
Well, sure, but they also had like direct panels to base that on. I mean, that's a scene of the book. Like they went almost verbatim exactly what that looks like in the book.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Time for us to sit back and let Cap rant. 5590 ERS. Cap, do you think Star Trek Discovery and Picard should be made non-canon?
I think, and I really believe this, I think the day will come down the road where somebody new is going to take over that franchise, and those things will never be mentioned again, and it will just be straight up retcon without them even having to come out and say that. Because they just don't fit with anything. They cannot be canonical. And I've said this 100 times. You've got all kinds of issues in Enterprise where there are certain things that it's hard to buy into, and other things that kind of work out just fine, certainly. But like Discovery just immediately goes down this really weird, bizarre path and has technology that obviously shouldn't be there yet, even much more so than Enterprise, and all of that. Like it is what makes it different from a lot of other things is that they are trying to have their cake and eat it too, where they call it canonical with original continuity, but they're working under the Abrams license, and they have to make things a certain degree of different, at least initially, before Paramount and CBS got put back together as one company. Like the rights were split, and so no matter how they want to talk about it, it just cannot objectively be canon. It's impossible to get my mind around, first of all, but second of all, just rights-wise, it can't be. So like they could, as far as I understand it, right now, get rid of all of that if they wanted to and start over. But of course they're not going to, because they've continued to give Kurtzman the keys to the kingdom. But yeah, I really think the day will come down the road where all that stuff will be wiped away. And I know that there's a lot of folks in the fan base that still like that stuff and take it completely seriously and 100% buy into all of that fitting in the same universe. I don't understand that, but that's how they feel about it. I wonder how upset they'll be if that ever happens, or if the stuff is good enough, they'll be on board with it like I would be. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, if we're stuck with that stuff forever, then Star Trek is forever broken, and I will become one of those like old school curmudgeon Star Treks that has my Star Trek and I don't care about anything after it. And I never thought I would get to that place. I mean, I went all the way through Enterprise, and that is not a great show, but there's stuff in it I like, and I still kept watching it and gave it a chance and stuff. And I'm to a place where I can't even hardly do that anymore.
Then that line from the Spirit's going to make sense again. Star Trek, it was dead as Star Trek.
Dead as Star Trek, yeah, exactly. That's a great line in a movie that should not have pop culture references.
True.
So yeah, you're right. You had to listen to your rant on. Go ahead.
No, I always enjoy it. John Ty, what is the most wholesome thing you have seen on social media or in real life?
Pictures of people eating tasty pie. And stuff like that. I mean, people post wholesome stuff all the time, right? They're like, look at this delicious dinner I have. I don't know. I think people get it in their heads that because the internet has become such a volatile place, that's all there is. And of course it isn't, but it feels that way because it seems like that's the stuff that is, influencing the culture more, or at least messing with us in ways where it's hard to appreciate what actually is influencing us positively on the internet. But I mean, I would say that the majority of what gets posted on the internet is totally frivolous still, and totally pointless and random, and just like random mundane things from people's days, or like silly memes with bad puns and stuff. You realize my wife, and the other thing too is echo chambers, right? Is that like everybody lives in a different bubble on the internet. All my wife sees on Facebook on her feed is like bad puns. It's like all she sees. She sends them to me sometimes, and I'm just like, you live in like a nicer, happier world than me, don't you? Because that's not what mine would look like if I, chose to look at it very much. But yeah, I don't know. I can't say what the wholesomest thing I've seen is. I see wholesome stuff all the time.
Apparently puns.
We're talking like social media related stuff. I mean, the one that kind of pops to mind is I remember like just some of these kind of uplifting stories, like
Sure.
like the kid who is going a while back. That I think it was before all the chaos. It was probably maybe 2019 going for that back. It was the kid who got in the way of the dog that was trying to attack his sister, and he was a huge fan of Captain America. And Chris Evans, a lot of the the superhero community of actors, they very much kind of went to the kid's defense and like congratulated him doing such a brave thing. Like the kid was willing to die to protect his sister. Kind of getting between him and kind of this I don't think it was rabbit, but it's that really dangerous dog in that moment. It was kind of like this Chris Evans sent him a shield, and everyone was kind of like trying to do something nice for the kids. Seemed kind of uplifting, kind of seemed kind of wholesome. I don't know.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, but like I forgot about that until you mentioned the part with him giving the kid a shield. But I mean, was that social media or was that just news outlets?
Well, I'm saying all the responses were kind of via Twitter and stuff like that. So, I mean, you might be right. I mean,
no, you're right. But people responded on social media.
Yeah,
and
like all
that
the
was like a
responses
nice
were kind
thing
of,
they were all talking about, instead of saying, "No, you suck. I like that Star Wars movie," or "I don't."
And
like
again,
that
I'm
Star
sure
Wars
like the
movie.
news itself is very much filtered. Like the kid's family probably put some stuff up there too, which I don't know. It's kind of related, I guess.
No, that's a really good point though. What I was talking about a minute ago, Solar Dragon said that's pun fortunate. Oh, they are really vying now for comment of the month. I will announce comment of the month. We'll have to go back and DJ, I may start having you write these down, like when I really dig on stuff, because there's that one from a couple shows ago. I can't remember what it was, but somebody asked a question that I thought was just freaking genius. And I really wanted to. That's the whole reason we were going to start comment of the month. So that guy has to get that. And I got to decide what the prize is. I'm going to start giving away a prize every month for comment of the month. But I got to figure out what that was. But I'll announce it next show. We'll figure it out.
That guy, he had a food question, didn't he?
I think it was a food question.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
Man, if you can remember this,
we'll go back and find it, because I'm pretty sure it was a super chat, and so those will all be clumped together, and I'll be able to find it.
I don't think it was. I don't think it was the teen. I don't know if it was the. This might be too far back. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Pizza '90s question. I don't know if that was it or if it was.
I know it was two shows. I know it was last Thursday because that's when I wrote down the comment of the week thing where we started talking about it because of that.
Yeah, I don't think it was that pizza question. That was a really cool question too, though.
Yeah,
that would have been a contender, most assuredly. I guess I'm giving myself away too much, because people are now going to be like, okay, so the way I'll get the best shot is if I ask food-related questions.
Gotta be food. Especially if it just depends on how hungry Cap is when we shoot the show.
Well, usually I've just had a big dinner right before we start, so.
Okay. Well, come
cuisine
back
curious Cap is.
Is that a thing people say? Cuisine curious?
No. I didn't want to say hanger because you weren't going to be. So I just figured, cuisine curious. So.
That was excellent word choice in the moment there. Okay, DJ, how many super chats do we have at this point in the show? We're about an hour in.
6.
6. All right. Throw me something pre-written, and then we'll get back to those.
Alrighty-roo. From...
Is that gonna be the last time you say that, or is that the beginning of an ongoing trend?
Well, Ross only said it the one time in Friends, so
I
I'll
wonder
only
if that's what you were referencing. I just saw that episode again a couple weeks ago.
Oh, really?
I've been going back through that show, yeah.
What a dumb time to say that for the first time. Who... This is from...
Oh, 1 second. No, cinematographic, I never was. He says, are you still good at real-life chess? No, I've never been good at chess in any form.
Let me see.
I used to have a chess club, actually. I kind of ran
Did
a
you
chess
really?
club back,
Like in high school?
back in, yeah, I think it was middle school. Yeah, it was middle school.
Were you good at chess, or did you just like chess?
Well, I mean, let me put it this way. I didn't lose in the chess club. I don't know if that was more me being good or is everyone else not being that great.
You know what I'm trying to get good at right now? I'm trying to get good at Tetris.
Well, Tetris is really fun.
I've been playing a lot of Tetris lately. Yeah, it's funny. I got that. I did a video on it. I got that Virtua Fighter machine that we converted to an emulation and MAME machine, and it's got 20,000 games on it. And I've been spending crazy amounts of time just playing Tetris on that.
Well,
machine.
you were in the zone. That's why.
I can play Tetris anywhere, and I'm playing it with my big upright arcade machine. With so many choices. But I've also been playing, like, Castlevania and stuff on it, too. I've never been great at Castlevania. I mean, those games are difficult, and I've been playing the one on Genesis lately, which I think is my favorite at the moment, Bloodlines. And I've got about halfway through it with an arcade stick, and I feel really good about that, because it's a little tougher with a stick. But that's been fun. Anyway, let's go ahead.
Kat, based off reading J.J. Abrams' Spider-Man, how do you think he will handle Superman?
I think it's going to turn... I'm sorry, Kat, it's your question.
No. Feel free. Go ahead.
Sorry, I jumped in there without thinking.
I can't get excited about that. That's my answer. Go ahead.
All right, so yeah, I read the Abrams Spider-Man book. It's I think Superman's going to be, given the whole flyby of it all, I think it's going to play a lot better than the Spider-Man book did for him. Because the Spider-Man book, it was okay. It was just this whole, it's kind of a next generation story with Spider-Man, which was fine. But I think the mistake was Abrams. I believe it's Abrams and his son. I forget if his son. Yeah, I think it was his son who also co-wrote. There was 2 Abrams on the book. They kind of focused, which again kind of makes the father-son stuff even nicer if that's the case. They just kind of came up with like a weird villain. We need like a big scary villain to kind of create almost like, and not saying it was this, but kind of like a Spider-Man Reign sort of like darker future kind of angle.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I read the first issue and thought it was god awful, and I didn't keep reading it. So
I think it started stronger than it finished. But if you can't get into the opening, I don't think you'd like where it ends.
Okay, yeah. Well, it just sounds like you and I disagree on the concept and the prose of it all. I thought it read like a 14-year-old kid wrote it. He was doing it with his teenage son, and I think his son did the heavy lifting. Because in my opinion, it read like a kid did, hadn't lived enough life yet trying to write a Spider-Man story. So I was gonna say, if he does get to make a Superman movie, at least his kid's probably not gonna be co-writing the script. So, like, that's...
Well, is this a movie or a comic based on the Superman flyby? I think I might have missed that part.
I thought he was talking about... Because hasn't there been a lot of talks lately that he might get...
Flyby on HBO Max.
Oh, is that what they're talking about? Okay. Yeah, I didn't know what the project was, because I've just been hearing Abrams is doing DC superhero stuff. Yeah, if it's based on Flyby, then it's a lot more likely to be decent.
Yeah, because again, he was kind of like I was based on that.
No, I'm with you there. It's an older script. I don't trust Abrams now, man. I think he needs to take about 2 years off from doing anything and find his writing and directing chops again.
Well, I think you're right. Also, again, I don't love that Spider-Man story. I mean, I like the idea and I like the beginnings of it, but again, obviously we're kind of divide a little bit on that. But my point is,
finished
yes.
it. I mean, this is not a fair debate. Like, I didn't finish it. I'm basing it on one issue, and I did not give it a chance. So, like, that's not fair to you. You finished the book.
Well, still, Flyby though. Again, just I remember just being really interested in Flyby after that, Death of Superman Lives documentary from Schnepp.
Yeah.
Like it was kind of teed up. Like what about the other kind of Superman projects in that era and the stuff that kind of spun out from like the Superman movies that were never made. So I'm always interested to kind of get into that. Remember like all that talk of like like what if we saw that adapted as an animated film or a comic or the or some of the other projects like the whole like the Batman Triumphant, like that's always a very interesting kind of avenue to explore whatever medium they're doing it in.
Of course, and I don't know why we haven't adapted more of those things in comic form, like we've done so much with the smaller comic houses with things like Frank Miller's RoboCop 2 and with the original Star Wars first draft at Dark Horse, et cetera, et cetera. Like, there's been a lot of that stuff done with non-Big Two superhero things. I don't know why DC and Marvel don't get on that and get some of that stuff made in comic form.
Well, I can't speak to comic form, which, again, it should be, but there was actually, Schnepp had one last project in development, and I don't know where this thing stands right now, where Schnepp, it was supposed to be carried out posthumously, where Schnepp and his widow, Lieutenant Schnepp's widow, was going to they were going to do this little series, like I want to say 6 to 10 episodes, where it was going to explore, like in like a documentary series, like probably like an hour an episode or something, about each of those. Like one episode was going to be Flyby, another one was going to be.
Never heard that, man. That would have been great.
And Kevin Smith was supposed to kind of fully realize it, but I don't know if it just kind of got lost in the shelf. But usually what happens is Kevin Smith he's about to do these shows, and then there's like a legalese on it, kind of cuts him off at the roots. So like he can't do it if he wants to, and then other projects kind of take precedence. So I don't know what the status is on that, but that was like the last thing in development after his Kickstarter fell through on his other project. But anyway, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thanks for telling us about that. I didn't realize that. No, it's really sad, of course, that he passed before he could finish that, and he was young, and yeah, that's super sad.
All right, well, shall we go to Connor?
That's an amazing documentary. I've never talked about it, but I finally saw it last year when Connor brought it to me, because I didn't have a copy, and he had a copy signed by Schnepp, and he gave it to me, which is super cool of him. And so yeah, I'm glad I finally saw that. It's amazing.
Well, perfect segue. Speaking of Connor.
Hi, Connor.
He gives us $5 super chat to say, I spent the last week watching one cut of Blade Runner a day for 5 days. I love Blade Runner, he says in all caps, an exclamation point. How many cuts have you seen? Here's $5, he says. Hey, no stealing catchphrases, sir.
Where is that guy? I hope he comes back, and he doesn't have to give us money, but I hope he just keeps screaming at us for how terrible we are in the comments. That guy was great. Anyway, so, and I really want him to change his name to Here's $5. Connor, you know Blade Runner now way, way, way better than I do. I've never seen all of the cuts. I've seen probably 2 cuts is all I've seen. I saw the director's cut back in college. That was the first way I saw it. And then whatever they called that, like, definitive or ultimate or whatever it was, that last one they put out, I've seen that. But I've never seen the theatrical cut with the terrible voiceover, or what people say is the terrible voiceover. But I've only seen those 2 cuts. Dragon, have you watched any Blade Runner?
Yes, I have. I can't say authoritatively which. I think I just saw the original theatrical cut. It was either the theatrical or the final cut. It was. I think I might have jumped to the final cut just to see what the preferred, whatever the director's. Well, I assume the final cut was the director's version, the 4th one that came out.
Yeah.
Is there an editor's cut?
Oh wait, what is the 5th one then? I think Final Cut is the one I saw. They made another one after they called one Final.
No, I'm just. I thought I have this here thing.
Connor, list them. We need to know all 5.
Because Connor said 5 cuts.
Well, I know I bought this set of Blade Runners, which I'm pretty sure had 4 cuts in it, and it said like, okay, well, here are all the different versions.
Yours is out of date, sir. There are 5.
Yeah,
apparently, yeah.
I'm not sure what the other one's supposed to be.
I wonder it was on sale.
I wonder it was on sale. All right. Well. Let us know, Connor. I've seen none. I've never seen the movie. I know that means we can no longer be friends,
It's a lot better than the sequel, man. The sequel just bored me to tears.
Ooh,
I didn't like the sequel.
I love that movie. I think it's amazing.
Fair enough.
I didn't like the sequel enough to go back. So, but
Professor
Connor
Zoom
apparently loves
says,
it.
I'm sure he meant replicant. He said I'm a replican. I'm a replican.
Means he can.
So
make
Connor
popcorn.
says theatrical
That's what
cut.
we'll call this guy. He's a replican. That's,
That guy's been in my house.
he
So
was
Connor
born
Nielsen says
at your house.
he was made in my house. Connor Nielsen says theatrical cut, international theatrical cut, work print, director's cut, and the final cut.
Oh, there's a work print. You watched the work print? Crazy. I wonder what the merits of watching that are.
Bragging rights on Letterboxd.
That
You're
seems
so
to be a
pretentious.
driving
Here's
motivator
$5.
for Connor. All right. Connor, thanks a lot for letting me know what all cuts there were, because I did not realize there was even a work print. But yeah, I don't know if I'll ever watch all of those, but I've got to do a science fiction rewind on one of those versions at some point. So that's a request on my list. So I'm gonna have to do that at some point.
All right, let's talk about something else. Connor Nielsen, $5 super chat. Godzilla vs. Kong, baby, with the all caps tonight. He's super pumped.
I forgot to watch that trailer.
Really?
Yeah, it's come
well, he
out.
said-
I just haven't seen it yet. Yeah, I forgot all about that.
He says, I was sorely disappointed with Skull Island and King of the Monsters, but I'm so into that trailer. Your thoughts?
Oh, cool. I've not seen it yet. We'll talk about it next week. Yeah, I just forgot about it.
Yeah, I need to watch it too. I was so bummed out by Skull Island that I didn't even watch the Godzilla sequel,
And
King of the
King
Monsters.
of the Monsters. And see, I actually liked Skull Island fine. It's just not my thing. That whole franchise is just not really my thing. And then I liked that. I liked that next Godzilla movie more than a lot of people did. But I still wasn't. I don't know. I'm not stoked about that franchise or anything. So it's hard to make it a priority. But yeah, I saw that trailer had come out, and then I don't know. I was somewhere where I was just looking at my phone, and I was like, I'm not gonna watch this on my phone, and then.
Well, I mean, I don't want to spoil the trailer for you guys. There's a lot to spoil, but I let you. I don't want to impede on your viewing experience. But just in general, is if the movie sticks to the trailer, I mean, it looks like it's going to be good. If it just kind of sticks to what's presented there, then again, I love the first act of the 2014 Godzilla, but we saw how that went. So.
I heard that they made it kind of clear who was supposed to be the hero and who was supposed to be the villain, and that surprised people. But I don't know how true that is.
Well, again, unless you want me to confirm it, I won't tell you.
Nah, it's all right. I'll take a look at it.
Cool. James Egan, thoughts on the Harry Potter TV announcement?
Yeah, I have not looked into that except just to have seen that headline somewhere. So I don't know what exactly they're doing with that, but I think that's right for rebooting as much or more than Lord of the Rings, because that's a thing where they had to really truncate and clip down stories. And like I like those movies fine, some of them more than others, but I don't know, this might be fighting words for some people. I think that is an opportunity if they were allowed to, because I don't know what they can do with that, what that writer will allow them to do or how involved she would be in it. But were it me, I would use that as an opportunity to improve on that ending. I think they should let it. I think they should let those people change things and make that material better, because I think it can be.
I don't think it's anything related to the movies. I think it would be a new thing.
No, I know, but if she's involved, what I'm saying is they could improve on the material of the books. Like that could have a better ending, and I don't know if
that's what I mean. I don't think it's anything related to that story. I think it's a new story. That's what I meant to say.
Oh, is it? I thought they were. See, I haven't looked real deep into it, so it was just going to be okay. So they're not talking.
It just sounds like it's going to be an HBO Max series,
but not
adaptation
a reboot.
Of Harry.
Oh, I don't care as much about that.
Yeah, I don't know.
If they were full on rebooting, though, I don't know why I made that assumption. I guess I just didn't.
I mean, it looks kind of vague. Just they've said Harry Potter series.
Yeah, it's yeah. People are just speculating. I think it's really vague at this point, so it could go either way.
Yeah. Well, I guess in my 2 cents then, I would hope that it was a full-on reboot and not trying to move forward. I guess I just assumed that because I didn't figure most of those actors would come back. And if you had to recast them, then that would be weird for people. Like, I don't think a lot of people would want that.
Well, most people I heard weren't assuming that it was that story at all. Like, it was a different, that world, but a different thing.
Oh, okay.
Kind of like Fantastic Beasts, but not Fantastic Beasts.
It's going to be weird if the namesake character's not in that somehow.
Well, I mean, it could be more Wizarding World stuff, I guess, but all the headlines I saw said Harry Potter, not Wizarding World, so I guess I was assuming that character.
Fair point.
Yeah. But who knows? Yeah, it's up in the air. What? So graphic says, just make Harry Potter the new Dumbledore in all caps. Very adamant about that.
Well, let's move on. Oh, Matali, I had seen that headline too, that Percy Jackson is also getting shows.
Oh, weird. So you want to be an Imagineer? Thoughts on Super Meat Boy as a 2D platformer fan?
I love what I've played of it. I haven't spent a lot of time with it. It's really, really, really super hard. I played it years ago, and there's been, I think, at least a sequel since then, but...
Cool. So this was earlier when he was talking about doing a biopic for Cap, and Divid2022 says, who plays Cap in biopic? I say Idris Elba or Jared Leto.
Yeah, I want to be played by somebody that looks nothing like me at all. I wanted to be like a total race swap thing. Do a gender swap too. Do a black female Captain Logan. That's what I want.
Yeah, yeah, Jared Leto goes method, so he's basically gonna be like Bullseye in that Jason Aaron Punisher story. He's gonna do horrific things to become Captain Logan. It's gonna be awful.
So he's gonna send people cases of Mountain Dew in the mail. That's the first thing we know he'll do.
And Spawn comics, and he's gonna say like, "See you next year."
He's gonna read ridiculous amounts of Spawn comics, and yeah.
Just gonna show up at my house for a couple days.
Oh, God.
That's hilarious. Yeah, the thing is, I feel like my life is like kind of mundane and straight and narrow enough that I think if Jared Leto went totally method and just tried to be me for as long as he was on that movie, he would turn a lot of things around for himself. Like, I don't.
It'd be like the normal setting on the dryer.
That's exactly right. He would drink like 2 beers a week, and that's about as much trouble as he would get into.
He'd have to put his island cult on hold for a few months.
Dimwit Monkey says the only person who can play Cap is Vanilla Ice.
Oh man, I don't know why that is, but I like it.
Well, my go-to again is I don't think age-wise this will work anymore, but I've always would go to Jackie Earle Haley for Cap. But again, that's never gonna.
Oh my God, that would be amazing.
That's always been my pick for you. Every time it's always been, who would you cast as Cap Logan the Bio? Everyone says Seth Rogen. I say Jackie Earle Haley, man. Look at it. Come on.
I would have never thought of that, but that's genius.
Yeah.
And I would want him for obvious reasons, just because I love that guy.
Yeah. Plus, I mean,
who is that one like composer that someone sent a picture of that looks just like you a while ago?
Oh, I don't remember.
Giacchino? I think they're thinking of Michael Giacchino.
No, it was someone that I never heard of from like a different country, but it really looked exactly like Cap. I can't remember who sent that. I think it might have been in the SSSS or something.
Yeah, I think it was somebody I wasn't familiar with, but.
But anyway, shall we move on to Thanos Survivor 21?
Yeah, except now that you said that about Haley, I can't unsee it. It's just gonna be stuck in my head forever. All right, sorry, go ahead.
Get on it, guys. Get on it. Thoughts on Disney Plus restricting older movies like Jungle Book, Dumbo, and Peter Pan from kids' profiles due to their outdated content? I didn't know that was happening.
I had heard about that. I don't want to get real deep into this because I'm just going to be a broken record. Can we please stop parenting other people's kids and let parents be parents and just put the stuff up there? And if I'm fine with going as far as making these things unrated, if you think that it's misleading to keep like a G or a PG rating on those things. But restricting them from those profiles, I think, is preposterous. That's
just add the little. They have these little drop bars now. Like when you watch Mando, sometimes there's like a photosensitive warning here. Like there's like flashing lights that might, again, same thing Incredibles 2 had. So it'll be like a little warning bar that drops down. Why can't they just add like in some culturally inappropriate stuff or outdated, inappropriate stuff? Like, can we just have like a little warning there so that people can see it? But people can read, so. I see
the argument because if you say that, then you're basically saying there shouldn't be a kids mode where they censor anything, right? Because I guess the point of that mode is so that parents can just leave their kids there and they don't have to worry about paying attention. Not that I'm about that or anything. I always watch stuff with my kids or like talk to them about it, but like if the whole point is that like there's nothing there that I even have to think about censoring them
but
from.
with a rating system, we know where the laws are drawn or where the lines are drawn, whether we agree with them or not, because there was a ratings board that made that choice. And when you're getting into cultural stuff, like cultural outdated stuff, that gets real sticky. I don't know where you draw those lines.
Well, yeah, I have no idea. It's just like whatever.
That I don't know.
Like
That's
it's
my
like
problem
whatever
with
they.
that. Like I think I agree with Dragon's solution. Like I guess I understand if you feel like you have to put something there where it's like, okay, this is gonna have some like really outdated racist type stuff that you probably don't want your kids thinking is normal. But I personally think, and not everybody's gonna agree with this, that to not expose your children to those things and then just talk to them about why it was that way back then and move on is a mistake. I think trying to shelter your kids from all that stuff is, and from where we came from historically, is very different from at early ages sheltering your, and however early or late you think kids should be exposed to that stuff is different than not wanting your kids to see nudity or heads chopped off. I just think those are different things.
Telling kids the world's perfect is a mistake.
It's a mistake.
Yeah.
And I also don't know that with some of those. So here's the thing: if it's the 1950s and you're a kid, and in lots and lots of movies you are inundated with racist imagery, and you're constantly repeatedly seeing like white people treating black people as inferior, or men treating women as inferior. It's a man's world, all of that stuff. That's going to culturally influence those kids to think that that is normal. They're going to grow up that way. A single one-off example from 50 years ago is not going to do that.
Yeah, especially, what was the example? Peter Pan, where it's like a fantasy thing. Yeah, I didn't realize they were doing that. That's interesting, because I knew that they were adding.
I know there was always like a little bit of talk about it, but this is official?
I don't know. I mean, I knew they were adding those little blurbs at the beginning of all of those movies, because I've seen those every time we watch those, but I didn't know that they were taking them off the kids' profiles. I don't use the kids' profile thing, so I don't know if it's happened yet or not. John Kelling, I still have my original Tetris cartridge.
Real quick, let me just add real fast. It's at least better than just censoring that stuff entirely and not allowing it to be there, or putting it under the like adult thing that apparently the rest of the world is going to get, but we're not. The Hulu thing. Like, if they put that stuff on Hulu because they considered it too adult, they wouldn't. They'll have Simpsons there, but they won't have that. Like that would really tick me off. But so I guess like. Having it not in the kids bar is not the end of the world. I called it preposterous. I kind of think it is. It could be worse, but Solar Dragon said he doesn't like the precedent that this sets. I'm a little concerned about that. I don't know if that's where we stop this kind of thing. I'm nervous. I'm a little bit worried that this kind of thing eventually turns into like book burning or something. And I don't want to get into that place. We're not there yet, and a lot of people immediately assume that we're just being responsible in putting these disclaimers there, and that it's never going to get to a place where we will like try to wipe out history and not let people see this stuff. I don't trust it, guys. I get a little bit concerned about that. I don't want to be paranoid. I get a little concerned that we could be going that way at some point.
Yeah, I like how they've handled it so far, because this disclaimer is really cool. It's like we're not trying to. They come out and say they're not trying to pretend this stuff didn't happen, but they want to be a part of making it, talking about it more, which is what the disclaimer says. But there is some, Disney has, like, you're never, like, Song of the South is not on Disney Plus, and I doubt it's ever going to be there, and Make Mine Music, which is one of the short collections that came out, and I really want to watch, because there's like 9 other shorts, but there's one short that got it censored from DVDs, and it still hasn't come.
Where are you on the binge, by the way, with the kid?
Sleeping Beauty is our next one. So we're into the late 50s, almost to the 60s. We've jumped around a little bit, though. He watched Jungle Book quite a few times, but yeah, we're still making it through. So this is about the Tetris thing we were talking about earlier. John Kelling, I still have my original Tetris cartridge from the Game Boy. It still works, too. Anyway, here's $5.
it's turning into a thing. Thanks, man. Yeah, I also have that cartridge. I didn't grow up with that though. I didn't have handhelds at all until the DS. Believe it or not, I didn't grow up with any handheld video games.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, like everybody in this dog, I had a couple of those like really crappy Tiger handheld things, but I didn't have a Game Boy. I didn't have a Game Gear.
I had the Game Boy Advance myself.
Did you? Well,
Yeah,
see,
but I played Game Boy games on too. Like I have the Frogger like cartridge, not the Tetris cartridge, but stuff like that. Yeah.
But yeah, I've got a Game Boy and some games now because I was really close to my my stepdad's father, like I guess my step grandfather, and curiously he was into some of that stuff. Even at his age, he really liked technology, and he was always tinkering with stuff. And he had a Game Boy. He played a lot of puzzle games and things. And so like he bought a Game Boy when he was like 60 something, and he left all that stuff to me, which was really cool of him. But I got his science fiction collection too, so a bunch of paperbacks from the 50s and 60s. It was really cool of him to leave me that stuff. But anyway, so I've got the original Tetris cartridge from that, and yeah, that was the system seller. They sold millions of Game Boys because of that cartridge.
That was very. I did not know that about you and handheld systems. That's crazy. I had like weird because I'm not even a game compared to you, and I had a Game Boy Advance, a couple SPs, and I even had a Game Boy Micro. You guys remember those?
Yeah.
Remember those things?
Yeah, I never understood one of those. You couldn't hardly look at them. If
like,
you need a magnifying glass for a thing, it's too small.
It was like this. It was big enough for the game to go in, and then it was like the screen in your hand. It was the tiniest thing. It was really weird.
Yeah, they recently put out like a little for the anniversary, for the Mario anniversary. They put out a little clock like that internationally that plays the original Mario game, and it's got a super tiny screen. I don't know why, and it's like $60.
TH1 $2 super chat. We only know it's in the works, but story is not known.
He's probably talking about that Harry Potter thing.
The Harry Potter thing, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's what we kind of talked about. We were just speculating. Thanks, Tom. John Ty, which character is more interesting when balancing between the personal life and superhero life? Peter Parker or Clark Kent?
I feel like we just answered this the other day or something.
No, we did.
That was about the dual identity. This is specifically... yeah, it's about this kind of the same thing. Which is more interesting when balancing between the personal life and superhero life? So more about.
Oh, I see. Okay.
The balance.
I don't know. I think that's equal. I mean, a lot of Superman and Spider-Man stories are both about that.
Well, is the question who's more balanced?
No, he's just saying like what's more interesting to look at story-wise. Like of each of those characters in their trying to balance having a personal life. So basically it just comes down to a like super powerful guy who has a day job and a teenager who is a moderately powerful superhero. I mean, I think that kind of comes down to taste issue, really.
Well, my instinct is Spider-Man's more interesting, but I mean, Clark Kent, I think, has the Clark Kent Superman struggle in the right light with the right writer can be really interesting. Like the idea of Superman, like some stories, of course, that we're now going to kind of see the end result of this sort of thing with that Superman Lois show coming up, like Superman having kids, and like an outcome he never saw for himself, and like a man who's kind of destined to be lonely, the last survivor of a planet, who's kind of going as again, who's kind of the illusion of humanity as the Clark Kent guys, where you have Peter Parker and Spider-Man, who are absolutely these two there's like two things that cannot exist with each other. It's far more difficult, therefore it's a little more interesting. Like Spider-Man, these two characters can't be happy at the same time.
Yeah, sure. But I think it also kind of comes down to just which of those characters inherently you find more interesting, because that's often the really good internal conflict for each of them is how do you find that balance. I think and it also depends on under whose pen, but like
yep.
My instinct is to say that it's actually maybe harder. I don't know. Theoretically, it should be harder for Superman to do that than it is Spider-Man, because he kind of puts the world more on his own shoulders than Spider-Man tends to. partly just because he's got the ability to know when more things are going wrong. I would feel like if you're Superman, you have to spend more of your time saving people. And the hardest thing about Superman is deciding like what crimes or what disasters you're not going to bother with because you have a personal
you're right.
life.
Yeah.
So there's also that. Yeah. I mean, I feel like Dragon, we could go back and forth all day long. Like, but there's this thing with Peter Parker. That's really interesting.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's equal, honestly, for me.
They're both very interesting struggles. I mean, let's just say that inherently they are both very interesting.
Of course, yeah. Oh, Matali brought up Brian Michael Bendis and just said kind of a slight against his Superman run, but not him penning for Superman. He recently lost his exclusive contract at DC, and I've not dug into that. I'm not sure why, but I just wanted to put a pin in that, and we might talk about that down the road as we find out what he's doing. After this, not exclusive doesn't mean he's not working for them anymore. So that makes me wonder if he could be going back to Marvel and doing something for both of those companies simultaneously, which has not been done in a long time with a big writer like that, or if ever. Or
Tom King kind of fell into that a little bit, where if I recall, he was pulled from Marvel to DC. That's why his Vision book is a little shorter than it was initially intended to be, I think.
But that was before he was the name he is now. Like, yeah,
well,
that's happened with, and it, you know, it's kind of quibbling over popularity, I guess. But I mean, that wouldn't happen while he was writing Batman.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like he became like a big powerhouse name right after that. Bendis is one of the big heavy hitting, you know, dozen people you might have heard of in modern comics, and
made a name on Spider-Man, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, and for him to not well, yeah, I mean with Bendis, like huge one on Daredevil, etc., and for him to be not exclusive anywhere is unusual, but it's gonna be curious. I'm just curious to see if he keeps writing anything for DC, and if the reason that happened was because his books weren't selling, because I don't know anybody that liked what he was doing on Superman. And it's also possible, like I said, I've not looked into it. It's also possible that he was not happy with what was going on there, and that he went non-exclusive so that he could focus more on creator-owned stuff, because a lot of people have been doing that lately too. So,
if I'm a betting man, it sounds like, just given all the transitional shifts DC's going through now. I mean, Cap, because of your resolution, you're not up to date on the new DC stuff, are you? Or are you doing the Infinite thing?
I'm sure not. Nope.
Yeah, because basically the whole future state and everything, they're kind of, it seems like future state's their excuse to kind of test the waters on stuff they may want to actually make, kind of the way they're going to do things going forward, but they're kind of like a little proviso, like these are potential futures, so it's a little transparent, like we're testing the waters after metal. But it sounds like Bendis may, just from the sounds of things, he might be kind of jumping ship at kind of the volatile DC right now, but on principle it sounds like maybe DC has more constraints than Marvel does, potentially. Or like maybe, even if it's not Marvel, maybe elsewhere might hold for him.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. It's interesting that DC, I think, has fired a lot more staff lately than Marvel has, but that they still at the moment seem to have a better reputation overall than Marvel does. I think.
Yeah, sure.
It's weird. It's a weird time to be in the comics at all. But yeah, I've not looked at any future state stuff yet. But that was my assumption when that was announced.
Right.
BJ, how many more super chats do we have at the moment, sir?
3.
Okay, cool. Let's get those knocked down.
First one up is from Anthony Cabrera. Who more deserved to be an A-list star in their prime, Adam West or William Shatner?
Oh, that's hard, Adam West.
Yeah, Adam West.
Guess it wasn't
that was hard, or
not that hard.
They are. I think they're both great actors. I think they had a similar thing happen to them in exactly the same year, and between the same years when their shows were on for the same 3 years and both got canceled at the same time, where they were looked at as suddenly goofier, campier actors. when that's not the reputation they had before that and not the kind of work that they had done before. Obviously, Star Trek was a more serious show than Batman, but because of the performance that he was giving in that people saw as over the top, some of that was because he would get lines like 3 seconds before he would read them, so a lot of those pauses were just him trying to remember dialogue he was just given, and stuff like that. He's like Adam West, also thought of as kind of a goofy actor who's not a great actor. Go back to any stuff he was doing before that, and he was definitely on his way to being a major star. But I still think Adam West might have deserved it more.
I'd agree. I think West absolutely should have been A-list, especially given like all the stuff that kind of went through afterwards, and of course looking like the whole struggle to get the star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. He put the work in there, man. He cared about. I mean, if I recall, he really sought out that project. I mean, again, he took. In the grand scheme of things, he really kind of took a risk with his career, but I mean, he created something really indelible.
He took a massive risk, yeah. He ended up doing a thing that I think ultimately may have impacted the culture more than if he had a big, like, I'm trying to think of a good example, like Clint Eastwood type career or something where you knew like the guy as opposed to a lot of individual roles that he played, because that was such a huge thing in the zeitgeist. But for his own career overall, obviously he fell out of work and wasn't able to do a lot through the decades afterwards, which is really kind of sad. But if he had continued getting even big starring roles through that whole period, I don't know what kind of stamp he leaves versus the one he did. It's hard to say.
By the way, it's because Shatner was brought up. Cap, I think I've asked you this before, maybe once, but you've seen Boston Legal, right?
An episode or two, yeah. I liked what I saw of it. I've just never gone back to it.
Yeah, Shatner's so great in that
really
show. He and I love James Spader more so, but I mean, he and the two of them have like this fantastic friendship, and like Shatner's basically playing into his own celebrity practically in the role. He plays like the biggest, like he's the big name on the law firm, and he always has this runner. He always says his name, Denny Crane. Denny Crane all the time is like a button to a scene. It's hilarious.
And he acted with Rene Auberjonois in that show, I think.
Yes, I love Auberjonois. He's fantastic. I loved him since the Tarzan animated show. He played this really great kind of French character. It was like the docking port.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize how big a voice-over career he had.
I know.
Huge. He did so much stuff, and a lot of stuff in superhero things. I heard his voice in something just the other day. I'm trying to remember what it was. Oh, well, I mean, of course he was in Batman the Animated Series, but there's something else I saw the other day that he was in.
Yeah, he was in the Man-Bat episode. He played Dr. March in the...
That's right. That's
yeah.
right. That may have been what I was watching. I can't remember.
You watch one of the two. He was in both episodes, like Man-Bat and the Terror in the Sky episodes.
Yeah, and he's in the pilot for Young Justice. He's that Cadmus doctor.
Mm-hmm. I forget if that was Blockbuster. God, anyway, it's irrelevant.
I don't know, but yeah, he's in a lot of things. Anyway, let's move on.
All right, speaking of, let's stay here.
Solar Dragon, that's Odo. Mm-hmm. I've met him. He is the most curmudgeon-y guy, or he was. He sadly passed away, but like he was, I don't know, in like a really endearing way. He was kind of like John Delancey. He was like mean to people all the time, but like in the nicest way possible, if that makes any sense at all.
Divid 22. What if Shatner was Batman and West was Kirk?
I have so I stumbled on this, and I don't know if it was on camera or not, but one day I just had this recently. I had this epiphany where I was like, Adam West totally could have played Kirk. And if Adam West had been Kirk, I think Star Trek history would be exactly the way it was. Like there are other people you could put in that role where that show was not remembered. I think the syndication history for that, everything would have been exactly the same way with Adam West in that role. I really think so. I think he would have been like the same kind of action hero, and he would have been just as charming and compelling to people, and he would have fit that archetype really well. I don't know about Shatner as Batman. I don't know going the other way. It's hard to say. Maybe. I mean, I could kind of see it. But Adam West, you'll never convince me he couldn't have played Kirk.
Mind you, I'm not a big Star Trek guy, let alone like the original series. But
Sure.
From what I have seen, what I can tell you is that I mean, I think Shatner could have great moments in the bat suit around that time. Like I could imagine him like maybe bring a little bit of dramatic. Of course, now when I think Shatner in the '60s Batman, I'm thinking Two-Face, which he's tailor-made for. Let's be honest.
Tailor-made for, yeah, that was awesome.
But I can imagine him doing like a whole like "What are your intentions?" scene as Batman being really good. You know, like sort of giving him like an equivalent sort of thing where he's confronting like a new bat. So that could be cool.
Well, yeah, I mean, go back to the screen test that Adam West did when that was supposed to be a more serious show when he's talking about the death of his parents, and then imagine Shatner giving that performance. And yes, I could see that.
Right.
But I don't know if I could see him getting the joke as well if Dozer had gone the way he went. But
it
then,
would be like a Green Hornet.
Would
be.
Maybe so, and then it might have been dull, right? Like, if Dozer had Shatner, pardon me, instead of Adam West, would he have gone as campy?
He wouldn't have.
I don't think he would have.
He would not have gone as campy.
I think Adam West had a lot to do with the decision to go that way, because that's not what it was initially pitched as.
Right.
That's not what he was going to write. I mean, they came up with
West saw the potential for it in the first script, and that's where they leaned into. That first script pretty much defines kind of the writing style of that show, and Adam West is kind of...
Yeah. Shatner would not have played it like that.
No.
And then we have one from TH1.
That's a great question. I almost brought that up earlier when we were talking about Adam West and Shatner before you mentioned this. So I'm really glad that came up because, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. You read your mind. TH1, Sam L. as Cap, written by Snyder and directed by Michael Bay.
I'm sorry, who was Cap?
I don't know.
Samuel L. Jackson, I'm sure.
Oh.
Okay, so Samuel L. Jackson is Cap in a movie directed by Zack Snyder?
Directed by Michael Bay, written by Zack Snyder.
Well, that movie would have to be called Captain Logan After Dark, clearly.
Captain Logan After Dark.
That whole thing is just how many F-bombs can you get in my mouth in an hour and a half?
And then the second part
of that where Cap is reading...
Sorry, what do you say?
Well, there'd be a moment in that movie where it's going to be Cap read. Basically, we're going to do the kind of a dual tie-in thing here. It's going to be Samuel L. Jackson's kind of kids book, go to F to sleep. But it's going to be Cap reading that to his kids as part of it's going to be kind of a dual reference.
That's so good.
During the whole Cap and fatherhood phase of the film.
Oh my God, go to F to sleep is so funny. It's fantastic. And he did a follow-up about the virus that was like, stay the F home. And that was also amazing. Anyway.
Well, there's a second part. He says, what's worse is kids' accounts don't have the Incredibles 1 and 2.
Oh,
so that's talking about the kids' account.
Huh. I don't know what that's about.
Probably just the violence.
Well, yeah, the whole light sensitivity thing, that would just be the second one, though. I don't know why that would be the first.
Yeah. I mean, there's always going to be things that you think are arbitrary if they have to go by, like, if they're having to remove stuff because
There's like one sliver of blood in the first Incredibles. It's not even, like, bleeding. It's just, like, a little, like, red mark.
Yeah, I mean, that's a movie that's clearly not made just exclusively for children, but it doesn't feel like an adult film. Unless you're saying we really don't want kids to sit down of their own accord and watch a movie about, like how... mundane the culture is and how we're not expecting things from people. Like, let's not let kids see that message.
Yeah, well, I think someone earlier...
The culture of mediocrity thing.
I think someone earlier said that he explained what it is a little bit more. I think it's like 7... Senior Nerd explained. He said it's like 7 and under, or what is where the cutoff is. So I could see Incredibles being a little bit over that, but...
Well, yeah, I don't mind that as much, then. I guess it's not as big of a deal. I don't know. I don't have to have strong feelings about everything.
Nor do I. I don't have to have strong feelings about anything. I'm the moderator.
Can you imagine, though, if I had a show with where I'm pretentious enough or I guess fool myself enough to put my own name in the title, where it's pretty much just me talking to you guys for an hour or a couple hours, and I never had feelings about anything? I just came on and I was like, sure.
You'd be Dan Torrey.
Hey, Cap, I just wanted you to say, yeah, sure, here's $5. Like, I would be the biggest jerk phase.
And the last super chat is just from So You Want to Be an Imagineer, and he just said in all caps with periods in between says, Leonard Maltin, disclaimers.
I can explain this, guys.
Can you translate for us, Blue Dragon 5?
Yes. Yeah, okay,
I know
something
I know who
about
that is.
But yeah, go ahead.
All right, so Tiki, he used to work for the Walt Disney Family Museum, and point being, you were great fun. This for Leonard Maltin, who also at the top of like a lot of the kind of the stored away kind of like Song of the South and stuff like that. Back when it was a home video release, like some of like the old wartime shorts in Disney and everything. Leonard Maltin, the critic, and the film story more accurately. Sorry, but
Yeah.
Leonard Maltin will do the introductions for that. So he's basically suggesting, what if you took Leonard Maltin? He's become a running gag for us, but like I call like the malt, like Leonard the Maltin, and it's like the malt for short. But the point being, what if Leonard Maltin would basically do his disclaimers from the more racy, Disney stuff like he did on that DVD set, and just did it for like they either recycled that or did a new one with him at the top of these kind of questionable.
Oh, and Disney Plus.
That would be the classy way to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Just have him sit down and explain.
And that guy's a fountain of information. I've always really liked, for lack of a better way to put it, just the cut of his jib, man. I've been to a number of Fathom events where he has like a 10-minute opening where he's just talking about the history of a classic movie or something. And those are always fascinating. I always get captivated by that. I'll forget that I'm in a movie theater, like about to watch this movie, and then he stops talking, and I'm like, I could have gone another 10-15 minutes listening to this guy talk.
When I think Leonard Maltin, I was two things. There's a chance that he might. I don't know. I don't think so. That'd be perfect if he did.
Because if he did, I would.
It sounds too good to be true, but it sounds like you'd imagine he'd have a podcast, right?
I would listen to the crap out of that.
But yeah, when I think Leonard Maltin, I always think of two things. One, I think of that
Oh,
scene.
maybe not. Daniel Davis says that sadly he has Parkinson's. I didn't know that.
Oh, I didn't know that either. Oh, man, he's looking a little rough last time I saw him.
That's sad, yeah.
Oh man.
Man,
well, yeah, I
that
guess
must be really recent, because I used to always like him when he came on the Screen Junkies channel for those things that he did over there, and he seemed fine.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird. That's the last time I saw him too, like on Screen Junkies.
You know who else I wish had a podcast before he passed away? Lipton, man.
Oh yeah, Lipton. I'd love. It's ridiculous trying to find his show, because again, I watched it when it came on back when Bravo actually had
Inside
the
Actor Studio. Yeah.
Inside the Actor Studio, and then you try to find the archive stuff. It only tells you, hey, it's on, but not really.
Yeah, and you may never be able to get your hands on it. I don't know why this was. I saw him in an interview with him once, and I have a lot of respect for that guy. He did so much for preserving the history of film, and for elevating the culture around acting, where like he's getting to the brass tacks of acting and talking about like where real acting comes from and all of that, and making it a in a good way, a really studious exercise. And but there was one thing about him that drove me crazy, and that was he didn't realize he was immortal and never thought he'd die. Because James Lipton did an interview when he was like 90, where somebody was like, are you ever going to release Inside the Actor Studio on box sets? And he's like, no, it's meant to be seen, when it airs, and for the students that are there in the audience, and I'll be here archiving it, but I don't think it's appropriate to release it. And I'm like, I don't understand that. I mean, these are things that need to be available, that people need to be able to see. And I really think he just never thought he'd die.
The man kind of froze in time, to be fair. He always looked like he was like around like age 60 or so, or maybe even a little bit less. But he's always just kind of, it's like, but Stan Lee's kind of, there's like an iconic look.
Until they hit a certain age, and then you could start to see it a little bit.
Yeah, again, after I think
that certain age was like 95.
Yeah.
I forget how long Lipton lived, but he made it to at least 92.
I think Lipton was like 92 or 93, if I recall. But yeah.
Yeah, and he had all his faculties about him. Like whenever you would see him at age 90, he sounded exactly the way he did 30 years earlier. You're absolutely.
Did you have a go-to Inside the Actor Studio like to pull from?
Say it again.
Did you have like when you think Inside the Actor Studio, was like a favorite episode or something? Like for you, was it the Robin Williams episode or something?
Jim Carrey's up there.
That's a good one too. I like that.
And both of the episodes he did with Chappelle.
I didn't see those.
He and Chappelle were like really good friends, and for his, I think it was 100th episode, he did a thing that he only did this one time, where they flipped roles, and Chappelle was the host, and he interviewed Lipton for 3 hours.
Yeah, I loved it when he had cast
That was
on.
You never got to see all 3 hours, but that's how they did it. And he did the same thing Lipton did, where he did all that research and he had all those cards, and yeah, that was awesome. And I'm not even a big Chappelle fan, but their relationship was infectious. They were really good friends.
Sounds great.
But anyway,
yeah.
DJ, we can't hear you, man.
Another super chat just came in from Logan Dodd. Thoughts on Mighty Ducks, The Game Changers, and would the Cobra Kai writers be fitting for a proper Power Rangers reboot?
Interesting. I'm not sure about Power Rangers. I wouldn't want some of the more like adult and vulgar sensibilities in a Power Rangers thing. If they were to, if they were to approach it that way. Sometimes, like, I don't want to overthink the question. It's hard looking at one show when you don't know the rest of the work, body of work of some folks, or if they haven't done much else, if they're chameleons or not. If, like, that's the thing they're good at, so if they move to something else, they do it that way. That's not exactly what I would want from Power Rangers. I think I would, and I'm gonna talk about this next week with my next Rewind After Apocalypse, but I would rather see something that split the middle between kids and adult Power Rangers, and see it animated and get the guys from Batman versus Ninja Turtles to do Power Rangers. I think that's the kind of sensibility that you'd want for a thing like that. But if you were okay with something that was like, skirting PG-13 to R, but had fun with it, I'm sure that would be good. It's not exactly what I want. I don't need Power Rangers with F-bombs and, some of the kind of bullying and stuff that, like, I can only imagine what their Bulk and Skull would be like. And I don't really, like if they took Skull and they made him like Hawk in that show, I don't think I want that.
You didn't care for that gritty Power Rangers short film, did you?
No, of course not. But that's not what they would do. They would split the middle there too, right? Like it wouldn't be that dark and oppressive. I wouldn't think.
I see where that question's coming from. Re-energizing the older franchise and kind of for a new generation. That sounds like, again, if they were passionate about it, if they liked that concept as much as they liked, the Karate, because that's like a love fest.
That's what I was gonna say. Is from what I've heard about them in interviews and stuff, they just love Karate Kid so much and know it inside and out. I don't think they would be the same people, the same target audience for Power Rangers if they were huge into Karate Kid in the '80s. They probably weren't into.
It's just giving them an assignment. It's like, hey, do this.
Yeah, I mean, if they approached it the same way, where they were like, how could we, take that and elevate it, then maybe. Because to be fair, the way you got there with Karate Kid was, they're updating, but they're also in a lot of ways still trying to make it what it was overall, and like that's just Power Rangers has such different sensibilities that like you can take Karate Kid and run with a similar tone and just be okay with going a little bit more rough and tumble just because we've all grown up since then and the world has changed, and there's some stuff in that, of course, about modern sensibilities and modern cynicism and stuff. With Power Rangers, you do have to reinvent the wheel to some degree to make it sophisticated at all.
And do you have any thoughts on the Mighty Ducks Game Changers?
What does Game Changers mean? I'm not sure what that. Does anybody know what we're talking about?
Yeah, it's a new series or movie.
Oh, I didn't know they were doing anything new with that.
I saw somebody posted about it. I don't know if is it a show? Blue Dragon 5?
I think it's a show. I'm pretty sure it's a show. I cannot for the life of me. I want to. My instinct was I was going to be an animation because we talked about this last time we did the animation thing. I think. Well, then again, we brought up one of the Mighty. I don't even
remember this.
Well, we brought up one of the Mighty Ducks shows. Now I can't remember if that was the older show or if this is like if it was brought up because they're adapting a new show. That I can't recall. There was something.
There's a trailer of Mighty Ducks: The Game Changers, and it looks live action.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Live action.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about that. I'll have to look at that. I suppose. I mean, I don't need a new Mighty Ducks thing. That was not a thing I was big into. I saw those movies maybe one time when I was growing up, and they were fine. I mean, I like Estevez, but
yeah.
The floor is yours, DJ.
I'm out of stuff.
Oh, he's out of stuff.
I'm ready for you to make a super cool pilot announcement. That's what I'm ready for.
Well, I don't know how super cool it is. So I'm doing this thing, and I want to show it to you guys. And like I said, this is going to have material that most of you guys have seen before, but packaged differently. And I did this as a pilot. I don't know how many of these I'll do. I don't know how far back I'm going to go, or if I'm going to try to make all of them this way. If there's enough interest, I really would like to do that. But let me pitch you real quick what I'm doing with this, and then I'm going to show you what I made for the pilot. And if I do this, I will continue to do these primarily for the new ones, and then I'll try to sprinkle in old ones whenever I get a chance. But what I'm doing is, or what I did with this pilot anyway, is I tried my hand at making an abridged superhero rewind. So so I'm taking the longer episodes and I'm trimming them down and forcing them into 10 minutes. And that's going to be crazy with the really long ones. So the pilot that I did was Begins. And that was initially a 25-minute video. I have pared it down to 10, but I brought the stills back. So what this would be is a way for folks to get like a bite-sized version of it if they were mostly just interested in my overall thoughts of a thing and they wanted to actually watch a video as opposed to listen to a podcast. Because this show has become very much a scripted, polished podcast. And I thought that there might be room, there might be audiences for both. And I could also see some folks liking to watch both because the stills would give you the context that they always did for the longer shows. If you're wondering why I think I can get away with the stills on this show, but I'm not still doing that for the podcast, that is twofold. A, it's way too much time out of my week. But more importantly, if these get hit, and like the stills wouldn't be on screen as long because it's so much shorter that I think that would get around the bots most of the time. But even if they get hit, that's not the end of the world because the actual original episodes are still there. So nobody panic. This would not replace Superhero Rewind. I'm not writing 10-minute rewinds. I don't think I'm capable of writing 10-minute rewinds. Although I'm kind of hoping this exercise will help me to get better at brevity, though. I think if I'm doing these regularly, I might actually start writing a little bit less scatterbrained and all over the place. So I'm partly doing this for me. I think this could be a good exercise for me just with my own work. But it's not going to be the end of the world if any of these were to get blocked entirely, which I don't think would happen. I think some of them might get flagged, but you'd still have the original thing. So anyway, I made this the other day. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out, and I want to show it to you guys and let you know. Or let you guys tell me what you think about it, and then I want you guys to pitch me titles for the show if you're willing, because I'm not in love with like Superhero Rewind Abridged or 10-minute Superhero Rewind. I'm not sure what to call it. And I'm also not sure with the new ones when I'm going to put out the 10-minute version versus the longer ones. So I kind of wanted to use the end of the show tonight just to pitch this to you guys, the live audience, and let you guys help me decide how to move forward with this. I like to be really transparent and have business meetings with my audience. So I hope you guys don't mind. I apologize if this is self-indulgent to anybody, but I wanted to show it to some folks before I actually put it up. Daniel Davis says, or not Daniel Davis, OAW, sounds like good teasers for the full podcast. Yeah, the problem is, though, that they're beginning to end like a full review, just really, really truncated. So I would be revealing the score and everything if I put them up first, and that's why I'm not totally sure if I should do that. DJ and Tiki, or Tiki. I keep calling you Tiki because Tiki's in here, and yeah. Tiki, we'll have you back soon too, by the way. But let me hang on. I gotta move some things around here. What is going on here?
Yeah, this sounds really like a nice tribute to the beginnings of Rewind, given how short they started off as.
I thought it would be fun to have both.
I think Blue just took flight in like a biplane or something. I don't know what that noise was.
Guys, I'm going to need just a minute here because I'm having a hard time getting this file to open suddenly for some reason.
Maybe he was making a late night protein shake or something.
Okay, DJ and Dragon, I'm hoping you guys will be able to hear this, but if not, just turn me off if you're able to, and just turn the audio of the video on. There it is. Okay, here we go. I'm now going to play a video. I'll be looking at comments throughout this, but I'm not gonna. I'll mute myself. I'm not gonna talk through this. This is 10 minutes. Here we go.
Batman Begins works on every level, but what it excels most at is making this not just a good Batman movie, but a good movie. Yes, it's about someone who puts on a costume and tries to save the world, like the Batman movies that came before it. But that's secondary to the personal story of a man who feels in his deepest core that he must do something to change the world. I think Batman Begins is one of those movies that employs a lot of things that work better in practice than they do on paper, as opposed to what happens more often, something that's great conceptually, but not so good in execution. Some things just looked weird to me when I saw the advertising before the film was released. I was immediately against the Tumblr. Why is Batman driving around in a tank? How do Scarecrow and Ra's al Ghul fit together in the same movie? Isn't Batman Begins kind of a silly and obvious title? I couldn't understand why they wouldn't go with something like Batman Year One, until I realized the scope and time span of the film. All of these elements work great in the context of the movie. Whatever a viewer's taste, the movie was made with a lot of heart and soul, and it does an excellent job of exploring several aspects of a central theme while still telling a story about a character that is made very real and relatable. It isn't what every person wants in a Batman story, but that would be impossible. Batman Begins does the best thing a film can do that's based on source material but telling its own unique story. It adds something to the mythos, while also borrowing from and showing reverence to what was already there. The movie draws plot, style, and ambiance from several Batman stories, especially Year One and The Long Halloween. At the same time, it creates an entirely new Batman universe for the screen, one that many viewers have called a highly realistic take on the character, albeit a heightened reality. The movie never looks like it's shot on a set. There's a lot of location shooting, a lot of practical effects, and anything built is made to look real. We aren't given any indication here that anything supernatural is part of this universe. There are some elements of science fiction, however, with some technology that seems possible but isn't necessarily in existence at the moment, such as the microwave emitter that can vaporize an entire city's water supply. The movie also provides a good case for the idea that one man can make a difference. Bruce creates Batman not just to strike fear into the hearts of criminals, but to make a statement to the good people in Gotham, whom he strongly believes exist, but, as he says to Alfred, need dramatic examples to shake them out of apathy. What makes the origin story work is that it isn't just a contrivance to get the ball rolling. It's one complete, intricately woven story. Nolan is a master at nonlinear storytelling. He gives us what we need when we need it. And though for the first 40 minutes or so, the scenes aren't presented in chronological order, they aren't difficult to follow and there's a logic to their order. How do you make Scarecrow and Ra's al Ghul work in the same movie? You don't do a traditional supervillain team-up. You make the lesser villain work for the stronger villain as a cog in a machine, and you never put them on screen together. The movie explores Batman's greatest asset, fear, and it uses each of its major characters to showcase a different aspect of fear and how fear can be used. Batman represents fear as a motivator. He uses fear to frighten his enemies, and he uses a symbol of fear to motivate others to take action against corruption. He blames himself for his parents' murder because it was his fear of bats that caused them to leave the theater. So Bruce ultimately uses the bat as a symbol of strength, turning a negative into a positive. It's unclear if he ever truly gets over his guilt, or if he just uses it as a motivator. He doesn't just patrol the streets righting wrongs. He's trying to change the city itself from the inside. Ra's al Ghul is my favorite kind of villain. He represents what Batman could be if he went too far. Ra's represents fear as a destructive agent. The real-life application is that if people don't learn the discipline to overcome their fears, they will consume them. Carmine Falcone and Scarecrow both represent fear as a manipulator. Ra's does also to a point, but Carmine Falcone and Scarecrow create fear in order to use people to get what they want. Falcone uses politicians and the police to ensure his own security and to gain more power. Scarecrow uses his fear toxin to manipulate the public into believing certain criminals are insane and that others aren't. There's a complex father-son motif working throughout the movie that's also part of this exploration of fear. Bruce's father, Thomas Wayne, is sympathetic toward his bat phobia, but he wants to help him overcome it. Thomas's last words to his son just before he dies are, "Don't be afraid." I think one way to interpret this might be, overcome your fears and learn from your mistakes. When Bruce's father dies, he has multiple father figures to take his place, which adds an extra dimension to the movie. Alfred is obviously his real surrogate father, the man who raised Bruce with the same principles of integrity and compassion that his father did, and he remains Bruce's voice of reason throughout the movie. But Roz, in the guise of Descartes at the beginning of the film, wants to fulfill this role too. But rather than leading Bruce by a similar example to his father's as Alfred does, he tries to instill in him a different set of values. Roz is the one who helps Bruce to purge his fears. But he's the kind of father figure that the son has to move away from, because while he's instrumental in Bruce's progression, he wants Bruce to be an executioner. They both want to save the world, but each has a different idea as to who can be saved and what line should be drawn. It's a very profound moment when Roz echoes Bruce's father on the train and says, "Don't be afraid." Even now, in this fight to the death and with Gotham's destruction imminent, Roz sees himself as Bruce's father figure. He's listening to his father's voice and not Roz's. He's hearing something different from the irony Roz intends as he's about to end the life of his greatest student. Don't be afraid. Overcome your fears. Learn from your mistakes. You've fallen. Now pick yourself up. Bruce learns from his mistakes, and he uses his surroundings on the train to his advantage just as Roz taught him. And he says, "I'm not going to kill you, but I don't have to save you." I've wrestled with this question a lot. If Batman doesn't save Roz from certain doom, is it or is it not the same as killing him? I'm honestly not sure. But that's what makes this film so great. It can be viewed on a lot of levels. Is he no better than Roz because he ultimately succumbed to the ideal of the ends justifying the means? Or is this a rare exception where the lines are blurred and there is no right answer? The film leaves that up to the viewer. The movie does an excellent job of creating such a multi-layered character in Ra's al Ghul, especially considering how little overall screen time he has. I also like the subtle nods to the supernatural nature of Ra's al Ghul from the comics. When he reveals himself to Bruce, he says, "Is Ra's al Ghul immortal? Is he supernatural?" To which Bruce responds, "Or just cheap parlor tricks." It seems Bruce's line is meant to be correct, but who knows? There's just enough of that sort of thing where you have to wonder if he somehow survived the train wreck at the end and was taken back to a Lazarus pit by the League of Shadows. All the psychology, symbolism, and metaphor is really interesting. But it's also a really fun and entertaining film. It's very serious and has some dark themes, yet there's no blood or gore and the violence is minimalistic. Nolan leaves a lot to the viewer's imagination. He shows us a lot of great images on the screen, but he also wants to plant ideas in our head so we can fill in the blanks. I understand the criticism that the fights are up too close and hard to see, but I personally think that's a stylistic choice that makes a lot of sense with this film. This movie isn't about watching Batman beat people up. When there are jokes, they're clever, well-timed, and serve characters rather than serving some script necessity of comic relief. A lot of the comedy comes from Alfred and Lucius, and they're both dry and subtle. For the most part, when there's fighting or jumping off rooftops or rappelling, it's part of the story and it feels necessary. The exception to that is the tumbler chase scene. The movie tries its best to make this necessary, but it ultimately comes off to me as an excuse for a chase scene. I can't complain too much because I love watching the tumbler driving over rooftops and it's wonderfully well crafted. I also think that this is a welcome picking up of the pace. Batman is desperate because Rachel is in trouble. She's been gassed with fear toxin and he has to get her back to the cave. He's making her a priority, so he's not worried about anyone who gets in the way. Perhaps this is even part of the doing all that is necessary motif. Still, he just got away from an entire SWAT team without being caught. It seems like he should be able to get back to his cave with a woman without putting so many people in danger. At the same time, this is Batman Begins. He's going to make mistakes. And his arc is all about making mistakes, having fears, and getting over them. I played the Batman Begins video game, which has a section where you basically play through this scene, and as you're knocking over cop cars, there's a flashing alert in the corner that keeps saying 0 casualties. I like all the things that shouldn't work in this continuity and do because of cleverly logical reason. Scarecrow doesn't wear a costume, but he has a mask which helps him frighten his patients with his fear toxin. Gary Oldman's Gordon is spot on, and he's a spitting image from the character in the comics. He's honest, he's likable, he's competent, but he's also in over his head, and he can't get anywhere on his own, wanting to fix the corrupt police department. I like how much he gets to do in this movie. He doesn't just give Batman leads on crimes, he partners up with him and helps him do the tough stuff, not the least of which involves driving the Batmobile. One of the few weak links is perhaps Rachel Dawes. A lot of people don't like Katie Holmes, and I personally think she's okay in the role, but I do like that she's a more subtle love interest than a lot of superhero movies have. She and Bruce aren't trying to have a romance in the middle of everything else that's happening. She does provide one of the major themes of the film, with her line, "It's not who you are underneath, but what you do that defines you." It's It's a good message, but it's also a good representation of the Batman character. I wouldn't even say that she's not a strong female character, but she's falling a little bit into that stereotyped role as the woman Batman inevitably must save, whom he's also in love with, and happens to take back to the Batcave. I don't know, perhaps giving Batman a love interest at all just seems a little unnecessary in this film. This movie finally gave a live-action Batman dimension on screen, and it's wonderfully thought-provoking. It's one of my favorite films of all time. And no big surprise, I'm giving Batman Begins a 4 out of 4.
Okay, we're back. DJ, can you hear me? Is your mic on?
No, it's still muted. There we go. Now it's good.
Yeah, mine was still playing because I was a little bit behind you.
Oh, sorry about that. I was like, okay, I don't know what he's doing right now. Okay, so yeah, thanks for indulging me with that, you guys. I just wanted to play you that and see how much interest there was just live in my doing those like that. Like I said, this would not be a replacement thing. Superhero ones would still be in depth. They'd still be half an hour to an hour or more, whatever it is. Apocalypse is a lot longer than I.
Yeah, I was gonna say like that was great. I didn't notice like any parts where it like jumped or anything. It was really well edited, but you only took 10 minutes out of that one. How are you when it's like an hour long one? I would like to see that's going to be a much bigger challenge.
And
yeah,
I did it too. The audio for that is done.
Oh, sweet. For the Apocalypse?
For Apocalypse. I took an hour and 10 minutes, and I got it down to 10 minutes. And
that's awesome.
I thought, and I don't know how watchable it's going to be, but I did it, man. And it took 3 passes. I had it at like 18 minutes at one point. It was like, okay, so I think some of these are just going to be 15. But I feel like if I could do that with Apocalypse, I could do it with just about anything. So I'm going to try it. If people really enjoyed that, I will keep putting those out. Cinegraphic, you just shaved a 30-minute review down to 10 minutes. Achievement unlocked. Thanks, man. 4 out of 4. Yeah, that felt longer than 10 minutes to me. Just watching it with you guys. So I mean, that's exciting. It seemed like there was, I don't know. I'm happy with how much I was able to keep in that. Like I said,
numbers came back.
I'm pretty happy with it. That's why I wanted to show you guys now instead of posting it, because I wanted to get some distance from it and see if anybody was just like, no, that's a terrible idea, don't do that. I don't know what the audience is going to be. I mean, if they don't get a lot of views, I won't feel the need to post them. But I feel like there could be a separate contingency of people that prefer to watch them that way, where it's bite-sized and they can just sit down and watch one, and they've still got the stills again. And
bite-sized, there's the name.
Yeah, bite-sized and
fun size.
I probably wouldn't use this, but I like Tom's Honey, I Shrunk the Rewind. That was kind of funny.
Oh, you're giving me Turbo flashbacks.
Some people are saying they're cool, or they actually like the idea of just calling it Rewind in 10 minutes, and that may ultimately be what it ends up being. A lot of people were throwing out titles that don't have Superhero Rewind in the title, name. And I think I have to keep the branding. Like I think that title does still have to be in there somewhere. The other big question I wanted to ask you guys, like I said earlier, is just when do you think I should post them? Because I would want to do this with the brand new ones each time I posted one, and then, like I said, maybe try to sprinkle in old ones if there's enough interest. Because I think it would be really cool to have a whole library of 10-minute ones. So like you could binge these and just get, like I said, the highlights. But I don't know if it makes sense to put them out before the long ones, because you'd have the ratings spoiled and stuff.
Yeah, and then some people might not watch the long one if they already knew the rating. I got some super chats during that. Divid22 says, idea, 5-minute rewinds, Cap, challenge given.
Originally, that was the plan. And
here's 5 minutes.
When I got it to 10, here's 5 minutes. When I got it down to 10, and it still felt like an actual review, I was feeling pretty good about that. There would be no way to get those really long ones down as far as 5 minutes. It would basically be an introduction that has like all the main broad sweeping points that I'm gonna hit later with details, but none of the details, and then the last couple of sentences. That would be the video. What is the point of that?
but lately your introductions have been longer than 5 minutes. So, and then another one from TH1, super chat: rewind recaps, and rewind the cap notes, and mine reviews.
Wait, what?
MINE reviews. Maybe he meant mini.
Mini review, yeah, yeah. Maybe that's what he's saying. Yeah, I think it needs to like clearly reflect the fact that there's a longer one, and like I said, these are mostly more often you're going to see newer ones probably. So yeah, something with recap or something. With
I like the
minutes
idea of cliff notes, like you said,
kind of like
it's a
superhero
cliff note
rewind
for
essentials.
Yeah, that's not bad, Dragon. Yeah, I don't hate that. I'm afraid if I said recap, somehow they don't get hit as well. I don't know why, but if that's there, it almost sounds more like previously on or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, recaps would be talking about recapping what you said on the rewinds.
Yeah, I want them, and that's the reason I wanted to play this for you guys, because I felt like it watched enough as a complete piece, even though there's clearly a bunch missing. Like, I feel like if anybody, this wouldn't happen, but if anybody didn't know that I had long versions, they could watch that and think that I made that on its own intentionally, and that was the video. That's what I want these to be.
Which would be a throwback to the beginnings.
Yeah. And I don't know, I'm waxing nostalgic for those days, Dragon. Like, I miss that. This was fun to edit. You know what's not fun to edit? Stills like that change every 5 to 7 seconds, but an hour and 15 minutes of it.
Well, I just we got another super chat, and it's a huge fail from our buddy Austin. So I got to make fun of Austin. He said, I have nothing to say.
Who are you throwing under the bus right now?
It's Austin. Who cares? He says, I have nothing to say. Here's $5 Canadian, and then it was $2.79 was the super chat.
Canadians.
So he didn't even commit to the joke, man. You got to make your thing longer so it actually costs $5.
Now, if you get one that says here's 5 minutes, you know the Clock King sent you that one.
Clock King. Thanks a lot, Clock King. Yeah, Lewis Cox, I don't think that's appropriate, but I like it. Be kind, superhero rewind. Well,
Well, that's kind of what that movie did, though. It gave you the abridged version of those long blockbusters. So.
Oh, is that what it was? I've never seen that.
Yeah, the Be Kind Rewind essentially premises they're back when VHS tapes were still a thing.
Yeah, of course.
Danny Glover, I believe Danny Glover was the main character who ran the store. He was out trying to save the store. Mos Def and Jack Black, they kind of accidentally magnetize all the tapes. So they call it sweeting. They call it the sweeted versions of the movies, where they basically reshoot it very crappily in only a couple minutes, and it kind of develops a huge following. People are kind of like, "Oh my God, this is awesome!" But even though
that sounds very YouTube before YouTube. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I never knew what the premise of that movie was, and I didn't realize that it had actors I liked in it. And I'm gonna have to finally sit down and watch that. That sounds great. Hopefully that's actually a good movie. I'm gonna be disappointed if I watch that and I don't like it after that really good.
There is one element that will not be your sensibilities, but it's like it's a brief little contrivance thing. But after that, I think you might like it. But I don't.
Yeah, well, I will check that out. Thanks, man. Anyway, well, guys, we're gonna go ahead and call it a night. Thanks a lot for watching. We made it past 2 hours again. We will be back with you again next Tuesday for an episode of Marvel Mania that I know DJ is just chomping at the bit to broadcast for you guys.
Force the words.
He just can't wait.
Wait, what is it?
Venom on Tuesday.
Oh goodness, great!
I know you're just stoked. Did you figure out a way to watch it?
Oh, no, I haven't even thought about it.
Okay, you might want to get on that, buddy.
Not in the blue section?
It's Thursday, and Tuesday we have to record, but he doesn't even know what we're doing. Hey, DJ, this part's just for you, okay? Tuesday, we're doing Marvel Mania, and it's going to be Venom, and you should probably be there and have,
man, I'll get
a movie to watch.
Can we just listen to the song over and over for 2 hours instead?
God, even I would rather watch the movie than have to listen to that song for 38 times or more. No, it would be a lot more than that.
Yeah, I've never actually heard the song. I just know that it's in the credits. But okay, let's do that then. Yeah, I'll be there.
So anyway, join us on Tuesday for that. I'm sure it'll be a great time regardless. And then Thursday night next week, another Captain Logan show. Superhero Rewind again tomorrow, 7 o'clock. That will be the very long Apocalypse review. I ended up with a lot to say in that. I hope you guys enjoy it. And feel free to leave comments here and send me emails and messages about your opinions on when to post those 10-minute versions, because I'm really on the fence about that, whether it should go ahead of time or not. Also, some folks were requesting that I go back to putting up rewinds as like live shows, premieres. And because I did that with Thor: The Dark World, and some people showed up for that and really enjoyed it. If I did that, I would be in the comments while you guys were watching it, and I'd talk to you about it in the comments. But I feel like a lot more people probably want to be able to just watch it when they want to, and if they show up 10 or 15 minutes late, they have to wait to be able to play the video. And I don't know if that's going to annoy people with this one, because I think more people are going to care about Apocalypse than some other things. So let me know what you think about that as well. I'm also on the fence about the premiere thing. I'm just not sure with a couple of these things how I ought to play it. So I would certainly appreciate feedback. And anyway, however I decide to post that tomorrow night, it will be 7 o'clock, so look forward to that if you want to see it. And in the meantime, also, my ranking list is updated on Letterboxd, and that will be in the description on the Superhero Rewind, but you can check that out right now. I've got social media posts on Facebook and YouTube about that. You can go back a couple and find that. The link is completely updated, and Apocalypse will be there tomorrow, so you can see where I ranked that. And I ranked that in the Rewind, so at the end of it, you'll hear me say where the placement is, and you can go look at that. So lots of cool things going on with Rewind now. I'm really, really prioritizing that, and I've been enjoying the crap out of it. I have written 4 weeks in a row, and I'm so stoked about that, because it's been a long time since I've been able to do that. So anyway, thanks so much for watching.
I saw that you've been even posting other lists on there, being active on Letterboxd. I like that. I'm on there all the time, so it's cool to see you.
I did a couple in one night, and I keep forgetting about going back to it, but I'll try to do some more. I don't know, that was fun. I enjoyed that. I think my X-Men was going to change after reviewing Apocalypse. That's going farther down that X-Men list.
Maybe not all the way to the bottom.
Hey, Dragon, thanks for joining us, man. I really appreciate your fountain of knowledge as always, man. You bring so much to the table, and it was great to have you.
Oh, thanks. So again, anytime, and of course, vice versa. You guys want to come on to Want to Be Imagineer anytime, we'd be lucky to have you on anything, honestly. But yeah.
Well, thanks, man. We will try to take you up on that.
You're too kind.
Oh,
talk about me.
Before I go, in the light of all the Rewind stuff, I just wanted to it's it's going to be a little warm and fuzzy, so forgive me.
God.
It's just
bringing the tears,
bringing back the Rewinds with the stills in some form. The stills always really kind of I'm not much of a prideful guy at all. I did one review I ever really did, like a proper review, and it was very much modeled after the Rewind stuff, because I always thought it was like the most perfect way to construct an analysis or review of any variety. So I this was years back when the first Deadpool movie came out, because that was a huge, it was a really important film for me. I was following that thing for 7 years. I adore that film. And anyway,
me too.
So I did
it's wonderful.
So I constructed something. Basically, again, constructing somewhat of a review, and again, I never go back and listen to myself. The only time I can ever go back to listen to myself without just skipping, unless I only have to to get content or get certain tidbits of information in preparation for something. Only time I can go back is that Deadpool review, and again, presenting the Rewind style. So it's just, and again, with the ranking and everything's very much modeled. It's kind of an homage to Superhero Rewind, which is the best way to kind of look at the superhero movies and things of the like. So again, just seeing things come back, even something as small as a little 4 out of 4, at the end of the Batman Begins review. It's always something special, So again, thanks for that. Thanks for just kind of creating Rewind in the first place, and just kind of charting that course, even if it kind of does vary in shape and form. It's always fundamentally that really important thing.
Oh, well, thanks, man. I really appreciate that. I'd love to see that video.
Well, yeah, sure. That one's on my channel. Again, kind of one of the last things I did, use the re-uploaded version, if you ever look at it. Because it's special, nowhere near as good as your Deadpool review, let's be honest. But it's,
I will definitely take a look, though. I'm curious about that. Well, thanks for the kind words, man. I appreciate it. And it was great having you here, Dragon. As it was last time, we'll have you back again, I'm sure. And everybody, thanks for being here. And we will see you again real shortly with lots more stuff here on the channel. It's a fun night, guys. I was Captain Logan. That was DJ Martinez. And Blue
Love you,
Dragon
Austin.
5.
See you next time, folks.
Bye, everybody.